Technology, I'm live. So welcome to ErinCon 3. What is ErinCon? Well, it's a virtual convention. Since we're all stuck inside and can't go anywhere, although I'm still going places, but I'm not supposed to. I just broke the law. I'm going to get arrested. Oh, wait a minute. There's no more police. I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so anyway, I've got a table set up, which I'll show you in a minute, with like prints and cards and comics and trade paperbacks and original art and other stuff you probably don't care about, but I'm going to show you anyway. It's going to be fantastic. And then on top of that, I'm going to sketch in some sketchbooks. I'm going to do some con sketches right before your very eyes. And I want everybody to know that everything except the original art, is free shipping this weekend. So if you want a book, you want a set of greeting cards, you want some comics signed, you want some prints, you can get them all this weekend. Free shipping. I almost said a dirty word. Free shipping. So that's awesome. But now I want to take a second to introduce my new dog. My wife's been posting. This is Husker. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody since all I do is wear Nebraska gear. But I was actually quite surprised that my wife would, she actually suggested the name. Didn't you, Shelley?
I did.
See, right off camera, she admits it. So I can't take responsibility for strong-arming her into naming the dog Husker.
Hi, baby.
He got named that because of my wife's kindness. And so if there ever is a football season again, he'll be right there barking at the team with me. So anyway, he's a what is he, Shelley?
He's a miniature schnauzer.
He's a miniature schnauzer, which is a terrier breed. And they don't shed. They have these long, glorious locks that we get to get trimmed every 6 weeks. But anyway, there's the appearance.
Symmetrical.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that white. Look at the white paws and the belly. Don't look at his dinger. Should have blackbarred that out. But anyway, it's kind of black in there. You can't see him very well. But anyway, there he is. And I wanted to share before we got into the other good stuff.
All right, time for a nap.
Because the crowd demanded it. I don't know if they demanded it or not, but there it is.
If he wakes up later, he'll make another appearance.
Okay. Stephen Ng is with us. Good afternoon, Stephen. Thank you. Hey, I got the Stelfreeze book. It was fantastic for $9.99. My gosh, it was like a $50 book. Stephen hooked me up with that. Although I'm still waiting on my Klaus book, or Klaus, or whatever the name of that movie is. John Smith's there. Hey, John, thanks for joining us. Martyr Media. Sue Do. Is that a Indomitian Sue reference? I don't know. Paul P. Excited for ErinCon. Good, Paul, because there's so much to be excited about. Johnny Fitz has joined us. Yo, hey Johnny, thanks for joining us. Okay, well, I've got 5 comments and 16 people watching, which is enough for me to get this ball rolling. So let's take a look at the table that I've set up. I spent all this time today. I thought I was going to be late because my daughter informed me this morning that all the places I had to drive her that I was unaware of until this morning. Yes, my 18-year-old daughter who still doesn't have her license. Another story. That should be a video in and of itself. Okay, so let's go to the table, take a look at what I've got, and I'll kind of explain what's going on from there. I got to turn this because I have no cameraman, 0 budget. Boom, boom, boom. Look at it. You can see the messy studio back there. But check it out. If you came by my table, it wouldn't look like this. It'd be much bigger and more organized, but I crammed a lot of stuff in here. There's my, let's see. Look at, there's toys back up there on the wall. That's a Herculoids play set over there in the corner on that corner bookshelf, in case you didn't know. And way in the corner, which you can't see because it's not lit well enough, is 3 X-Men action figures that I actually designed. That was pretty cool. And they actually gave me free ones, which I was very surprised. I got a box one day that had action figures in it. Okay, so let's start. We'll finish with the original art, but start with the product, shall we? So let's just say you were, Harrison Chua says hello, and I say hello to you, Harrison. Thanks for joining us. John Smith, don't you just love it when they spring it on you? Boy, isn't it the truth? Okay. All right, here we go. What have I got? Well, I'm going to change my banners here to kind of reflect what we're seeing. See, I actually need someone else helping me. I need to get my wife in here and put her to work. Let's see. There we go. That's the one I want. There you go. Sketchbook with a sketch, $45 plus $5 shipping. But you know what? This weekend, no shipping. So it's just $45 if you want one with a sketch in it. If you don't want a sketch in it, which very few people have not opted for the sketch option because it's such a great deal. Let me see if I can hold that straight. There we go. This is a hardcover, 20 years of sketches by me. There's my name. It's a hardcover, 64 pages, full color. Nice little end papers there. But anyway, it's got, you know, art in it, which you might expect from a sketchbook, but it's got some really good stuff. It's the best of my sketchbooks over the past 20 years. And there's quite a wide variety of material in here. So anyway, these are available this weekend only, $45, no shipping. I'm going to put this up here too. I'm letting these go. This is my very first published book by a real publisher. And it retailed for $20. I'm letting them go for $10 a piece, signed. It's a humor book. I actually did a reading from this, one of my cons or live broadcasts a while ago. But anyway, it's basically what it is Fantastical Creatures Field Guide, how to hunt them down and draw them where they live. There's one chapter on a how-to section on how I painted one of the figures. But that's not really what it's about. It's a humor book with a bunch of weird creatures that supposedly live all over the world. But anyway, those are $10 a piece. I've got a few of those left. And I'll sign those for $10, free shipping. Raw Imagination, again, the sketchbook, the hardcover sketchbook, $25. Or if you want a sketch in it, which we're going to do shortly, I've got one, Scarlet Witch, we're going to do pretty soon. In the book, it's $45, and again, free shipping. So you say, okay, Aaron, that's great. We've seen all this garbage before. What else do you have? Well, I've got a line of greeting cards that Hallmark still hasn't bought from me, which was sort of my whole goal in the first place of creating them. Because I got people pumping up my sketchbook. Thank you. So anyway, let's take a look at these greeting cards. They're kind of oddball. Thinking of you. Get it? The banana shaped like a U. These are the jokes, folks. Okay. Here's one of the more popular ones in my family. They keep taking them all because as soon as somebody graduates or has a celebration, it's just basically, congratulations, you rock. This is my newest birthday card. It says the old guy saying what, of course. And you open it up in really big letters. I said, happy birthday. So it's like you're yelling at him because he can't hear. You know, it's fun for the old folks. This is my most popular card. Happy birthday, when do we eat? It's all about the art, really. I got this joke from my late great dad, who always used to say, remember, the diet starts after the holidays. So Merry Christmas. He would always say his diet starts right after the holidays. And of course, there's always a holiday coming up. So this is my favorite card that no one ever buys. It's got Dracula on it. And then you open it up and it says, you suck. Because really, who are you going to send it to, right? But it is funny. So this is a little romantic card for you, for your girlfriend or boyfriend that has an odd sense of humor. I'm stuck on you. He's stuck in the tar. Okay. And this is actually my favorite illustration on all these cards is this little ghost guy. And that says, just a little card to lift your spirits. And then I'm going to bring in a couple more. I got someone suggested to me, try doing some cards without your dumb jokes in them. And I said, okay. So this is the shark card. This says nom 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 on it. And you can kind of put whatever you want in there. So, and then this is my latest, which I kind of thought was funny. It's a Valentine's Day card. Where the guy wearing the glasses there, who apparently can't see straight, shoots his buddy in the butt with the arrow. Anyway, and that's blank on the inside, so you can kind of use those as you see fit. So anyway, there's a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards. I have 10 cards in my card line already. The interesting thing about these cards is they're pretty cheap. I sell them 2 for $5. And I can sell 100 of these at a show, which I did in the New York show, and made practically no money on them. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I sold 100 cards. How much money did you make? $30. Oh, well, because I don't mark them up very high, but you know, whatever. So what I'm offering, because I'm doing free shipping, I got to have a minimum order here, or it's not worth my time to actually go to the post office and mail you something. So you can get all 10 cards for, drum roll please, $12. I'm not going to sell them individually. I mean, they are available individually, but you know, not with free shipping, pal. Anyway, so you got 10 cards. You can get the entire set of all 10. These come with envelopes too, for $12.50. Seriously? Yes, Aaron, I'm totally serious. $12.50. So if you want one of those, if you want anything, you can email me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com. As you can see on the sketchbook scroll on the below the AaronCon 3 emblem there, ignore the $5 shipping. But you PayPal me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com. You don't have to worry about shipping on these items, just the amount. And then make sure I have your address and make sure you tell me in the PayPal message what you're sending me money for. Or if you're not comfortable just doing it blind like that, you can email me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com, or you can contact me through Facebook messages or Twitter, wherever you're from, and say, hey, Aaron, I want to get a set of those cards or whatever. So that's how that works. But this free shipping is only this weekend. So if you contact me on Monday, yes, I'll probably do it anyway, but technically I'm not going to do it. All right, so what else do we got? How about comics, right? I am supposed to be a comic book artist. Let's see what I've got. I got a ton of comics. What they do at DC and Marvel, of course, and I'm sure the smaller publishers as well, when you work on a book, they send you a gazillion copies, all right? So what am I supposed to do with all those copies? I keep a couple, but, you know, I can't keep them all for the rest of my life because they're piling up like crazy. So hang on a second here. Let me, Steve Branson's here. I thought you were going to be here, Steve. But anyway, Steve made it. He enjoys the Herculoids and he lets us know it. Myron Tay says, good morning, Aaron, from Singapore. How about that? International audience. Thank you, Myron, for joining us. The free shipping, sadly, the free shipping is only good in the U.S. International shipping, you got to pay the shipping. I apologize for that, but that's just the way it is. Roscoe Davis says, what a deal, and he is correct. Harrison Chua, this is so cool. Love your art. You know, I'm going to put that up there because it makes me look good. Harrison Chua said, this is so cool. I love your art. There's a picture of Harrison, I would assume. So he just, just made the show. Okay. Johnny Fitz, I would help, but I'd require me to fly across town and pay for a hotel. Yeah, it's not worth it. Jeremiah Jones, get a book. They're worth it. Thank you. Yeah, then we've got everybody pumping up my book, and I appreciate that. International shipping is free as well for your sketchbook. Sorry, Chan, it is not. Unfortunately, the shipping international is usually as much as the sketchbook, so I apologize for that. Warren says, cool table, and Warren, thank you. Warren and I will be providing you with Kit Carter episode 8 this week, I guarantee, because I finished Justice League 50 today. Well, actually, I've got a few tweaks on the last page, but I'm almost done with it. And so next week, I'm going to get to the next episode of Kit Carter inked and over to Warren to letter, and we'll get it posted up there pretty quick for you on my website. Steve, you got home early. Excellent. Harrison Chua, he's from Australia. All right, man. I got a few guys I know over in Australia that have bought some art from me. Floyd Man Sumner. Hey, Aaron, what app are you using for this cool looking video? I am using StreamYard. I'm not like, I'm not really app. I'm not all that great on the app thing. So I'm still using my computer, but it's just like StreamYard.com. Anyway, here we go. Let's take a look at what I've got here, if I may. If I may take a look, if I may force you to take a look, I'm going to go up a little bit here so I can get a higher look at this technology, man. To think I went to film school and look at me making great use of it, my rickety $5 tripod. All right. Most recently, what I've been working on is Justice League. Now this is Justice League 42 with kind of a groovy cover by, oops. Yeah, I don't really know who that is. But it's groovy. So anyway, that's 41. I've got a ton of those. There's 42 with the Brian Hitch cover, or pardon me. Wait a minute, what is that? That's, okay, duh. Okay, that's 41 alternative cover. This is the Brian Hitch regular cover. It's 41. issue number 41. And then we have issue number 42 with another cool Brian Hitch cover. It's a pretty cool cover, right? Now here we got some interesting stuff that I don't really know what's going on here. But this is a foil cover of Justice League 42. I've got a few of these, like 3 or 4 of them. They got to be worth something. I mean, I have no idea what they even are. So those are available. And all this is first come, first served. Most of these comics I have a ton of, so it's not really a big deal. But the ones with the alternative covers or the special covers, I don't have a ton of. Just a few. And then they did this one is the white cover. So there's like the regular edition, then there's the white cover, then there's the silver cover of the white cover. So I have no freaking idea what these are, but this has got to be a dealer incentive, right? So, well, let me get through all these and I'll give you the prices on them. So then I've got all these Wonder Woman 100-page giants from Walmart, right? So this is number 3, number 2, and number 1. These all have double cover. There's multiple covers on each one of these. Yeah, that was a Frank Cho one. I don't know. I mean, if you're really, if you know which cover you want, you specify it when you get in touch with me, and if I've got it, I'll send you that cover. But anyway, these, I actually didn't do any Wonder Woman work in these. These are reprinting my Amethyst story that I did years ago, miniseries. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. Amethyst, I'm coming. She is loaded for bear. She's going to start killing people. And isn't that really why we tune in? Anyway, this was actually, if you didn't catch this was a really good series. It just didn't sell, which shouldn't be a shock to anybody. But anyway, so I've got 100-page giants on these Wonder Womans 1, 2, and 3. Roscoe wants to know if you can get can I get a Carter kit? It's like QVC, only cool. It is, Floyd. It is just like that. All right, now I do have a few of these Archies. This is interesting. Well, if you like Archie, it's interesting. So I've got Archie 1941, Archie 55, which means 1955. These are all number 1s, and these are all alternative covers, okay, for the book. And then the 10th Archie married life anniversary. 10th, what is it? The 10th anniversary Archie married life or whatever with, I guess he married Veronica. So, and they got kids and stuff. So anyway, I penciled, inked, and colored these covers. That's my daughter. She's made 2 covers. She made a Wonder Woman cover when she was in kindergarten, and then now she's 18, a senior in high school. She made this cover. So I basically got the full school spectrum, from the first year she started school to her last year in school. But anyway, I don't have tons of these, but I think I have about 6 or 7 or so of each. And so those are available. And again, I will sign all of these if you want them signed. If you want me to write on the cover and ruin them, I will be glad to do that. And again, I'll talk to you about prices in just a second. Okay, so what else do we have? We've got, now this, there seems to be kind of a resurgence in interest in sludge. Okay, now this is sludge number 1 from Malibu. And this is see that? It's shiny. It's the silver foil cover edition. Now, and it's limited to 5,000, which seems like a lot now because I don't know how many of these books sold. Actually, I do. This book sold close to 100,000, a little over 100,000 copies when it came out. So there's 5,000 of these. I don't have all 5,000, but I do have 10 maybe of these. And then I've got a bunch of just the regular cover editions of these as well. Funny story, Ross Ritchie, the publisher of Boom Studios, worked at Malibu. And when they were going under, he cleaned out the warehouse and gave me a ton of sludge number 1s, including those. So that's the truth behind that. I actually have Aquaman Giant here, which includes a story I did in, well, no, actually, I did it for Aquaman, for this Aquaman Giant that Tony Bedard wrote. Oops, wait a minute, Michael Gray wrote. Who is Tony Bedard? I guess that's already been outed. So anyway, I just did it again. Sorry, Tony, I didn't mean to. Don't trust me with any of your secrets, I guess. So anyway, that's a pretty cool story with the Sea Devils in it. And that's the original story we did for this 100-page giant. I got a ton of these with 2 covers, of course. I did 2 issues of Swamp Thing. I've only got this 100-page giant left. And this is, I think, part 2. So you'd have to find the 100-page giant 6 on your own because I don't have any more. But I do have 1 copy of 7 left. And then I have a ton of these, the Infinite Crisis Dark Multiverse #1. And I have them with multiple covers, too. There's 2 different covers. One is this one, which is the cool cover. This is by Lee Weeks. And then there's a cover that has like the Justice League on it, which I guess they're in it, sort of. But it's not a very apropos cover. This is the cover. But I do have the alternate cover if you want it. Anyway, so this is like the 48-page square-bound prestige format thing. And again, I will sign these. This was a pretty good issue. James Tynion wrote it, who's now the writer on Batman. And then what else we got? We've got Aquaman 56. Okay. There's the 2 covers. The regular cover by, what's his face? And then the alternate cover by what's his face. So those are available. And I also have, I'll get to the trades in just a minute. Okay. So here's the deal on the comics. Again, I'm not shipping anything unless I get a $10 minimum order. So what I'm doing is I'm offering, let's see, these are $4 books. These are all, let's say, $2.50 a piece, and I'll sign them on the cover if you want. Okay, but you got to order $10 worth, or I'm not going to do it. And that's even the 100-page giant, which are normally $5, $2.50. That's half price. These alternate ones, I'm going to be a little more expensive on because I figure they must be worth something. But I'm not going to be crazy about it because I don't really care that much. So $5 a piece on the alternate ones. Okay. The silver one, I'm sure, is now the silver ones all come bagged, so I can't really sign it. So you'd have to specify if you email me and say, Aaron, I want the deal on the comics. You'd have to say sign the bag or whatever. All the other ones I can sign because they're not bagged. Sludge #1 silver is also $5. All the other comics are $2.50. Even this, which is a great book, this Dark Multiverse prestige format, $2.50. 100-page giants, $2.50. But again, you have to order $10 worth. So again, all comics $2.50 signed, except Sludge #1 silver, $5. The 2 Justice League variants, $5 a piece. All right, so then I think I have 2 of these left. This is a Swamp Thing collection, hard softcover trade paperback. It has my Swamp Thing stories from the 100-page giant in here, I assume, because that's why they sent them to me. Yep, there it is. Pretty cool cover. I think it has that, the Tom King, Jason Fabok story that makes no sense, but it's still kind of cool. And then other stuff. So, and I'll sign this, of course. This is this retails for $16.99. I am. What am I doing? On these trade paperbacks, I'm going to go 60% off on the trades. Okay, 60% off. So I got a couple of those. I've got one of these left. This hardcover deluxe edition Dark Multiverse has all the Dark Multiverse stories in it. It's a hardcover. I'll take the plastic off and sign it if you would like. This retails for $35. So whatever 60% of $35 would be plus, and it's free shipping. So that seems like a really good deal. And then I got a couple of these. I also, if you want some of my older trades, I don't have them out on the table, but my gosh, I've got a ton of like Sword of Sorcery, the entire collected Amethyst, and ton of Star Trek. I did a 48-page prestige Star Trek, and I've got a big ton of trade paperbacks of that with some other Star Trek stuff in it. So all the trades I have, if I've got them, are 60% off. Okay. I'm going to check messages here real quick. Josh, I'm going to need one of those fancy shiny covers of Sludge #1. All right, Josh, we'll work that out. Pat Scott needs that Sludge book. Okay, like I said, you guys just email me about it. Let's see. Thomas O'Connor says, without conventions, some cellar dwellers have no reason to leave their dark, damp domiciles. People who work the conventions can recognize these future Morlocks. I'm not sure I understand what the point of that was. What's the dinosaur book in the background? Oh, that's my sketchbook, my hardcover sketchbook, which I'm going to get into in just a minute. So hold on to that thought. Scott wants a Swamp Thing. Okay. And Scott Grove, he wants the Swamp Thing in the hardcover. Okay, you got him. But anyway, still email me because I'll forget. Okay. All right, so what else we got? Well, I'll tell you what we've got. We got prints for sale, and this is kind of really where the big deal is this weekend. I'm pulled out some of the old ones that I still have laying around. This is an old one called Wet Grass from '09. It's still one of my favorites. Kind of a Wrightson-y sort of Swamp Thing-y looking swamp creature and some chick with a lantern. Why she's wandering through the swamp in the middle of the night, I have no idea. This was originally done for I'm going to click into for the Monsters and Dames book, one of the early ones from Emerald City. So I have those available. I have some Kit Carter stuff available. This is the very first Kit Carter print I ever did. This is Kit Carter versus the Astro Zombies. These all come signed, and these are all $15 a piece. Okay, and it's a great time to get prints because there's no shipping, right? So it's $15 a piece. They're all come signed. Some of them are signed in number limited edition prints. 15 bucks a pop, and as many as you want. Doesn't matter. Free shipping. So I've got that, which is called Space Hunt. Now this was the originally, technically the first Kit Carter piece I did. This was also in the Monster and Dames book at Emerald City. And it wasn't technically Kit Carter, but it was like the first stage of developing Kit Carter. And it's called Space Hunt. And I've got this Kit Carter, Galactic Ranger, Kit Carter versus the Molten Menace. Okay, so that's some oldies but some goodies. I have a limited number of those of the Kit Carter stuff left. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the newer stuff. I have this Captain America print that I just came out with. This is called Captain's Quarry. It took me a long time to come up with that name. But anyway, it turned out really well. Color turned out really nice on it. If you're a Cap fan and kind of like a rogues gallery of at least some of my favorite villains, there you go. I guess I could have put the Sleeper in there too, but I hadn't really thought about it until just now. But anyway, you've got oh, what's his face, and then there's Who's It's, and no, that's Baron Zemo in his original pink costume, because any villain would choose to wear a pink costume, wouldn't he? The Sinister Yellow Claw. We have Batroc the Leaper. Madam Hydra, remember her? Way before the movies, back in the Stranko days. One of my favorite villains. She just totally disappeared. As far as I know, maybe she hasn't. I don't read the stuff anymore anyway, so I don't really know. Red Skull, of course, right? You got to have the skull in there. And he's big in there. And he's smoking. So not only is he a Nazi, but he's also smoking. So, wow. I should be censored. And this, of course, is Nightshade. And she was Queen of the Werewolves, if you remember, from Captain America 164, an issue written by Steve Englehart and drawn by Alan Lee Weiss. Well, it was one of my favorite Cap issues of all time. And I had actually Steve Englehart and I were judging a costume contest at one of the Motor City Cons years ago, and I brought that comic with me because I knew he was going to be there to sign it, right? And so I don't like people signing my books on the cover, even though that's the way most people have it done anymore. I had I wanted him to sign it on the inside, you know, under the indicia on the first page. So I gave it to him, and he instead of just signing Steve Englehart, he just wrote this super long, ridiculous note to me on the front page, right? And so it was actually kind of funny. But so I have that. But I had to go out and buy a near mint copy because I was pissed off that he wrote all over the inside of my issue. So I have two copies of it. One was Steve's little message in there and signature, and then one without. Okay, so we also have this, which is my Star Wars Princess print. This was, let me get this up here because this actually, let's see if I can do this. So we have Princess Leia, Princess Amidala, and Rey. Well, I guess it's sort of a princess, right? I don't know. Anyway, so these are like the three main female Star Wars characters all in one, and it's on textured watercolor paper, so it's actually feels like it would be worth money. We have this. This was my best-selling print of all time. Girl Power. Try and get rid of that glare. And it's basically Wonder Woman, sitting on top of a very sort of annoyed Superman. This is actually a re-release because the original one that was signed and numbered sold out. So this is just an open edition. So that's readily available, but also $15, no shipping this weekend. This is also a fairly popular one, The Warrior in Repose, which is another sort of Wonder Woman-esque print in her armor. Really pretty soft colors there. This one is super popular again. This one sold out, so this is the open edition, Warrior Nouveau. Again, a thinly veiled Wonder Woman print. So these are all available this weekend for free shipping. My Rosie the Riveteer, We Can Do It, based on, of course, the great Norman Rockwell piece from World War II. That's also one of my favorite prints all time. This is a San Diego 1946. This was done at San Diego, but not in 1946. But I used a picture of, everybody's like, oh, is that Marilyn Monroe? I'm like, no, it's actually Lana Turner that I used for the hairstyle and kind of the face. But we have the Hotel Coronado back there. And so it was just kind of like, the idea is supposed to be like, and she's wearing a 1946 swim suit. And the S here in the towel is supposed to kind of hint that it's Supergirl without really telling you. But if you can't figure it out by the colors, then I don't know what to do for you. Anyway, I just wanted to do it specifically for San Diego as, just kind of a more interesting, rather than just a modern take, but do something that feel kind of vintage. Anyway, that's available. The Spider-Man print that was inked by John Livesey. We call it Amazing because I can't really put Amazing Spider-Man on it, Anyway, so that is available. This is not the Little Mermaid, but it is the Big Mermaid, and full of ocean creatures and fun stuff in the border there. And this is called the Coral Princess. And this one should be more popular than it is, but I guess there's not as many old people going to cons like me that have the amazing respect for this film that I do. But this is my take on a Jaws movie poster if I was going to feature the actors rather than that great iconic image of the shark coming out of the depths. But here's the shark up here. If you didn't notice, there's his eye right there, and his teeth down here. So that was kind of my design if I had done a Jaws poster. That's available. This is interesting. This is the this is called Little Leaguers. Get it? Little Leaguers. It's yeah. Anyway, this was when I posted this on Facebook. This got the most likes of any print I've ever produced, and it sold the least amount of any print I've ever produced. So that just goes to show you can't trust social media for anything. Anyway, so there you go. Those are the prints I have available this weekend. $15 a piece, and that is with free shipping, of course. And you know what? I'm going to put that banner up just in case there's any confusion, if I can find it. All prints. There you go. Look at that technology. So let's go through them real quick. Once again, Little Leaguers, the Coral Princess, Amazing, San Diego 1946 with Lana Turner as Supergirl in a 1946 bathing suit. Rosie the Riveteer, a little more feminine than Rockwell's version, but still pretty strong. Got pretty good guns on her, so look out. The favorite one of the moment, the Warrior Nouveau Open Edition. These all come signed, and like I said, the Open Editions won't be numbered because they're not limited, but all the other ones are limited edition. Warrior in Repose, for example, that's limited to 150. Nice pastel-y colors. I penciled inked and colored all these except for the Spider-Man one that John Livesay inked, but I colored all of them. Girl Power, which has always been a favorite. Kids love it. So, Star Wars Princesses, which has underachieved, quite frankly. I'm a little disappointed in that, but what are you going to do? And then, of course, Captain America, which is the one that just came out. Everybody's jumping all over this. So if you want one of these, get in on it. I've got it. There's limited edition to 100, and that's it. So if you want one of those, get on it this weekend. Then, of course, our Kit Carter remnants. The Molten Menace, Space Hunt, Kit Carter versus the Astro Zombies, and of course, who can forget Wet Grass? So if you're kind of an old Monster Wrightson fan, this might be the one for you. So I know you're sitting there saying, Aaron, my gosh, you're boring me to tears. When are you going to start drawing? Well, you're going to have to hold on for another second because we're going to take a look at some original artwork real quick. I also have original art this weekend. Now, the original art is not free shipping. Unless you buy over $350 worth, then I'll give you free shipping. I don't have a banner for that, so you're just going to have to take my word on it. I've got all these covers available, which no one buys because they're too high priced. But anyway, there they are. Wonder Woman Conan. That's from, well, let me zoom out a little bit here. Okay. This is more the position you might be in if you're at my table looking at my portfolio. Okay. This is from Future Quest Presents, Herculoids cover. Damage Annual #1. It's kind of a cool one. Has this is Damage 12. Cover to Damage 12. That's got Deadman, Superman, and the beat up Justice League down here. This is Damage #15, and that has Damage eating Fing Fang Foom. So, you know, if you're into that. Last issue of Damage, supposed to be kind of a tribute to Spider-Man 50. This is Legends of Tomorrow #1. It's kind of a Firestorm cover. It was inked by Matt Banning, very well, I might add. So that's the first issue of that. It actually had my Metamorphose miniseries was in that. I've got 2 Amethyst covers left. This is #3. And then this wraparound with Eclipso on it, the other side of it. How about that? Let's see what else. Oh, we got some Wonder Woman covers in here, though. That's from issue, I don't know. This is from issue 79, I think. I'd have to go look. But I don't have multiple copies of these because I only did the cover, so I only have like 2 copies of each, so I don't have any for these comics for sale, but the original art is. There's the Archie 1955 cover, although I'm kind of thinking about maybe keeping it because my daughter's on it. Seems like might be the wise thing to do. There's Reggie #1. That's another Archie thing. Here's a 100-page giant Walmart Superman cover that I don't think ever got used. So anyway, there it is with a Brainiac thing going on it. Death of Hawkman 1, Death of Hawkman 4, Death of Hawkman 5 that has Hawk Girl on the cover, but she's not in the comic. The original art to San Diego 1946. The original art to the least popular print I've ever done, Little Leaguers. But it's also the cutest. So the original art to Coral Princess mermaid print I did. There's another Wonder Woman cover I'm not supposed to show you because it's inventoried right now, and they may use it, but there it is anyway. Red Sonja Tarzan. I did a series of covers for that miniseries. That's #5, Tarzan down here, and Red Sonja, of course, the headshot of Red Sonja. There's another Red Sonja Tarzan cover, #6. Injustice, #12, has a lot of DC characters on it. There's a Ninjak cover. I can't for the life of you remember what it was called. I got a spread here of the most powerful hero clicks from Toy Fair magazine. It's actually got Superman and Thor and got some cool stuff on it. This is a watercolor I did. It was originally going to be for the hardcover sketchbook, and then I opted not to use it. Instead, I used the original pencil sketch, scanned the pencil sketch, used Photoshop to sort of make it look watercolory, and then used that as the cover as opposed to this watercolor, which I created based on the original drawing because it just didn't quite have the same energy the original drawing did. But anyway, that's $250, pretty good deal for a watercolor. Couple of Turok from Dynamite, the new version of Turok covers, and I've always got like giant roughs, usually cover roughs or splash pages that are under $100. And then I've got these two. These are $150 a piece. Skeksis, and then the old wizard, whatever they are, from Dark Crystal, and then a Lord of the Rings piece in there. I'll hasten this up a little bit here, but I also have pages from Wonder Woman, last issue of Wonder Woman I did. Well, she's not really in it, but it's kind of most of her as a teenager and her mom. So it's mostly Hippolyta and Wonder Woman as a teenager. But still some good pages if you're into that kind of thing. There's a double page spread here. More royalty. I got a few good Swamp Thing pages left from that thing I did. This one's a pretty good one. This is only $250. Sweet. It's got a really nice shot of Swamp Thing right there, tackling the villain. It's got a nice big shot of Swamp Thing's head down here in the bottom. This is the best page I have left, is Swamp Thing fighting this, whatever it is. 4 nice panels, good shots of Swamp Thing on it. And then some lesser stuff. This isn't bad. That's a really great panel there. I really like that, how that turned out. Swamp Thing getting tackled and drug underwater. And then the last panel, of course, he's being forced down into water, and that's kind of where we end of that story. So that was the last page of that story. Then there's some more stuff. There's some Justice League making a cameo in the Swamp Thing story. There's a big Swamp Thing head down to the bottom of this page, so that makes it kind of worthwhile, I guess. And this has a little bit of Swamp Thing in it. And that's the last page of the story. So I do have some Swamp Thing pages left, and that's about it in this book. And if you see none of these pages are yet listed on my website. I'm still working on it. I'm getting it cleaned up as we speak. So you'd have to email me directly and go, hey, I saw this page. I thought it was cool. I can send you a scan or whatever if you're really interested. This is all Infinite Crisis stuff. Double pager right there with Superman, Spectre, Shazam. It's loaded up with quality characters. There's Blue Beetle getting his brains blown out. But what if that didn't happen? Well, we turn the page and we see he gets Maxwell Lord instead. Anyway, so I have a ton of pages from Infinite Crisis, Dark Multiverse. And it's actually, if I do say so myself, pretty nice stuff. Really pleased with how it came out. So we got some Justice League stuff in there. There's some that's a nice Batman page right there. That's page 17. Some Booster and Blue Beetle pages. There's more Blue Beetle down here. There's a dead Lex Luthor all mangled on the floor. You gotta like that. Superboy's in here. That's kind of a cool one there. Superboy, spoiler alert, right? Old Superman and Lois here, Superboy going, no. So anyway, there's like lots of good fun stuff. There's some good pages of Blue Beetle after he sort of becomes part Blue Beetle, part OMAC. Talk about major spoiler alert, death of Blue Beetle. I hope you've read it. So anyway, I got quite a few pages from that. I've got some of the Aquaman pages here. So actually some good action pages still left, the Aquaman stuff. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, and you got the comic, you just kind of open up the comic and find the page and say, Aaron, you got this. This is from the 100-page giant Aquaman story. There's some good Aquaman pages, sea devils, monster fish. It's just the kind of quality you can't find anywhere. I did a 2-page Harlequin sequence. Of course, one of the pages ended up with Anchor, but I got this one. Harlequin in her old costume fighting somebody. And Booster Gold even makes an appearance. Herculoids pages from Future Quest. Some good stuff in there. Igu beating up the bad guy. Gleep and Glop smashing the bad guy, turning into 2 big gloopy fists and smashing him with the, there you go, bottom of the panel. So there's some decent stuff. All this new stuff again is not listed on my website, so you'd have to contact me directly for pricing and all that kind of stuff. I still have a bunch of Wonder Woman Conan pages too, which was one of the better comics I've done in my life, if you're into that kind of thing. But there's a lot of good Conan stuff and Wonder Woman. She's not in a regular costume. She's sort of in a barbarian sort of version of herself. But there is a lot of really nice pages with big panels and lots of detail, and I just knocked over every single card on my table. So you can tell there's a lot of detail in some of these, and a lot of these pages, I should say. There's all the Amazons fighting all these bird monster things. That's pretty cool splash page there. As you can tell, these are packed pages full of good barbarian action. That's a really cool one with Conan strangling this bird monster man thing. Man thing. I made a joke. Yeah, so there's a nice little Magneto splash from the new X-Men from years ago. And then I'll remind you guys, I still have some of these Justice League pages, only from 41 and 42. 48, 49, and 50, I do not have those pages back yet and won't for a while yet. But as you can see, there's some, there's some good stuff in here. Superman and the Exterminator, or what the heck's that guy's name? Eradicator. Some good Flash pages. There's Flash getting his butt kicked. That's always fun. Got this really kind of cool double page spread. There's multiple panel spread of Flash zipping all over the place. And again, I can provide scans of any of this stuff if you're interested. There's another Flash splash page that's pretty groovy. Let's see if I can pull out and highlight anything. Got some nice Wonder Woman getting worked over by the Eradicator. It's a pretty good page. This little Batman action there. Batman, my voice changing. I just turned 13, so you can expect that. Batman and Madame Xanadu. It's kind of a good page. This is a nice page for the Justice League in action. There's John Stewart, Green Lantern, Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman. They're all on that page. They'll actually have a panel to themselves, so it's pretty groovy stuff. So anyway, and of course, all my old art is listed on my website. So the newer stuff isn't, but it will be hopefully before the summer's over. And but anyway, that's kind of it. That's what we've got going on today. And all this stuff, except for the original art, is available at free shipping. Like I said, we need a $10 minimum purchase on the comics and the greeting cards. Okay, so let's move on to the drawing portion of our show. That's the most selling I've ever had to do in my life. I usually at cons I'm not a very good seller. I just kind of sit there and I'm kind of like, if you want it, fine. If you don't, that's fine, which probably isn't the best way to do it. But because I know guys that really push product and they do really well. And I don't know, I've never been a very good used car salesman. So those are all the utensils I will be using to create pictures. Oh, I got to get this. Sorry, I got to get this camera stand adjusted so I can actually get in here and draw. So you can see I have a nice little Copic marker pouch for my pens. Okay. I'm almost there. Bear with me. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. All right. Look at that. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I got a guy who wants a Scarlet Witch headshot in my sketchbook. So that's what we're going to do. That is what I'm going to do. And of course he wants classic, which is the best kind, right? Well, I don't know if classic, but older than what they're currently doing with her. I'm going to go on the comments here and see what's cooking. I'm way behind, so let me catch up for a minute on my Okay. Boy, I'm way behind. Art to bear, I'll take one of each. Sure you will, Art. Let's see. Johnny Fitz says, sorry, gotta go, dude. Awesome live stream as always. Keep the good work. Thank you for joining us. He's probably already gone, but Pat Scott has the Jaws poster hanging in my bedroom. That is worth showing. It's right there. So Scott Grow wants a Rosie print. Okay. You guys have to, like I said, you can either PayPal me just the money for it and tell me what you PayPal me for, or you can Facebook message me or email me. But I can't do the orders right now because I'm doing a show. I've only got the one hardcover, and I think somebody already claimed it. Let's see. Okay, let's see. That guy must be a troll. I'm getting trolled. Does that mean that I've hit the big time? Let's see. Glad I got in this while it was live. Court. Yes, excellent. Thanks for joining us. Also, you have any pages inked by the great Art to Bear? Art wants to know if there's any. I have any pages inked by the great Art to Bear. You know what? I do. They're in my flat files though, because as we all know, you can't bring every piece of artwork to a con. So the Art to Bear stuff is actually free. No, I'm kidding. Nighthawk Warrior is here. Hello. What's he got? Humphrey Bear. Okay. Everybody's greeting everybody. That's fine. Aaron, do you have your Lone Star cover, or did that go on to me? No, I have it. If you're seriously interested in it, email me. And I'll let you know what I haven't even really thought about what I'm charging, what I charge for it, but yeah, it is available. How much is the Leaguer's original art? Scott, that is, I want to say 800, but let me check real quick. There's nothing like quality silence on a live stream and a picture of a table with nothing happening on it. I'm looking up but see, this is what happens at conventions, right? You got to sit there and wait for the artist to, wake up and actually answer your question. 800 Little Leaguers, but it's free shipping this weekend if that makes any difference to you. But yeah, 800. I might be flexible on that. So if you're seriously interested in it, contact me and we can talk. Nighthawk, so what's tonight's topic? Drawing pictures is tonight's topic. I'm going to do a sketch in a sketchbook, and then I've got a couple of commissions to work on, and I'm not sure which ones I'm going to do. We'll see. Let's see. How much do you want for that Dark Multiverse Pat 17 with Batman, page 17 with Batman? I want large amounts of money. No, I don't know. Probably after looking at it, I'm going to say it was probably, well, I'm not going to say until I look at it. Oh, wait a minute. Page 17. Which one are you talking about? The one where he's with Madame Xanadu, or the one where he was... I can't really do this. I had a page 2 from issue 42. Josh, just message me about what page it was, and we'll talk after this live stream because I can't find it. Any Rocketeer? No, I wish. Let's see here. Aaron, where are the Atari Force? Oh yeah, I sold all my Atari Force work. Sorry about that. Is Garbage Man taken from both Man Thing and Swamp Thing? It's taken from everything I could borrow from. Where do you sell these? Do you have a site? Yeah, I do. It's aaronlopresti.com. Let me put that on the ticker. There you go. There's all my information scrolling even as we speak. So like I said, the newer original art is not listed on the website yet, so you'd have to contact me directly about that stuff. But excuse me, everything else, the older stuff is. Mike Fiala is here. Hey, thanks for joining us. Jeremiah Cross, he's working on the site. No, I do have a website. It's up and running, aaronlopresti.com. I just don't have all my pages listed on the art for sale. But all the prints, the cards, there's like galleries, there's a blog. It's fully functional. Pat Scott says the Justice League issues were really good. Thank you. Now here's something I want to comment on. Hyper Potato says covers and double page spreads are my favorite pieces, usually out of my range now. They're my least favorite pages. I hate doing splash pages and double page spreads because they take 10 times as much planning and effort to make sure that they don't suck as a regular page does. So, I mean, I love them, but drawing them is way, I really hate double page spreads. So anyway, just throw that out there. At cons, you're probably busy making sketches. It's true. Was working on Dark Horse Multiverse book cool? Yes, it was. Working on the Dark Multiverse book was cool. No, I really enjoyed it. Anytime that's the reason I chose that. I got my pick of, I think, just about any of the Dark Multiverse ones, and that's the one I chose to do because I figured it was going to have the most DC characters in it, which it did. I didn't realize it was going to be so Blue Beetle centric, but it was still. It was really fun. Very atmospheric, a lot of fun stuff I like to do. You need a wingman to sell your stuff and take your money so you can be free just to bring the personality. That's true. My wife used to do that. Now when she goes to shows with me, she just stays in the hotel and I don't blame her. Lower the banner, please. Yeah, well, too late for that. I will in a minute. When I start drawing, I will. Where am I at? There. That didn't really lower the banner, but loved your Dark Multiverse title the most out of all of them. Well, thank you. I just saw that you did Generation Lost. Love that book. Comic Crossing says that. Yeah, that was actually a fun miniseries. It was 24 issues, I think, and that was right when I got off of Wonder Woman. I was supposed to take over Superman, but it was the Superman Walks Across America. So I said, no, I'm not drawing that. And so then I ended up on Generation Lost, which was really a good book. But so I got to kind of pick and choose the issues I wanted to do, like the Metal Men issue and things like that I thought would be most fun to draw. So I actually enjoyed working on that quite a bit. Registration, Marty Myhall is here. I went to film school with Marty at USC. We had some good times. We had a pool party at his parents' house in Glendale one time, I remember. Anyway, I could tell you stories about Marty Myhall, but I won't because I don't want to embarrass anybody live on air and then have it be saved on the internet forever. But yeah, he was somebody I went to school with, good friend. Glad you're checking in, Marty. Appreciate it. All right, enough of this foolishness. Let's get to the art. I'm going to drop that. There we go. To make Warren Montgomery happy, so I'm not blocking the art anymore with that big old honking banner. All right, so this is Raw Imagination, 20 Years of Sketches. It's my hardcover sketchbook that is available as soon as I switch the banner. Actually, it's available right now. I don't have to switch the banner, but there it is. Ignore the $5 shipping. Shipping is free, so it's just $45 if you want to sketch in it. Okay, 64 pages, hardcover, full color. It has a front, a spine, and a back. That's how I can prove it's a book. And there's pages on the inside. And there's color. Look at all that color in there, and some black and white. So it's really got something for everybody. Was in your V Climation movie? Actually, you were. You were the drunk in my my claymation movie I made at film school. That was pretty funny. I have to dig that out of the box. Although I don't think I have a Super 8 projector, so I don't know if I'll ever get to watch it again. I'm kind of afraid to show my film school films to my kids because I'm afraid they'll mock me. So, although some of them are pretty good, but you know, we were all learning, right? All right. So, Scarlet Witch. I've got this. This is the title page to the book. They're signed and numbered, limited edition, 750. I left this page blank to do sketches on, and which was stupid because I have to keep from bending this page every time I draw. Where I should have just made this blank, and then I could have drawn right here on the inside front cover. It would have worked much nicer, but I didn't. So you know, next time, right? Next time. All right, so I'm going to go in with a Kohl Erase Prismacolor. It actually erases, which is nice. It's a light blue. It's not a non-photo blue. I don't like the non-photo blue because it's too waxy and doesn't really erase that well. This light blue doesn't erase well if you press too hard, too. So you have to kind of sort of be careful about that. But so basically, I'm just going to knock out the shape of her face in blue. Then I'll go over it with pencil and then ink it. So this is, you get this for an additional $20 in the sketchbook, because the sketchbook's actually $25, but you can get a sketch in it for an additional $20, which I think is a pretty darn good deal. That's about as intense as my salesmanship gets. It's a pretty darn good deal, so you should get one. I'm up in the 160s. So considering I've only had one convention to go to, that was Chicago, I've got 160 of these have sold. So I think that's pretty good, based simply on live feeds and videos to push it. Okay, so we've kind of knocked in her face. And now we'll get a little pencil action going on here, and who knows what will happen. Maybe it'll actually turn into a real drawing. Court Carpenter's out there. We need to show this because this is true. Court knows of what he speaks. The art book is absolutely worthwhile. He can't recommend it enough. I mean, what more do you need to say about it, really? Let me do this because this is always fun. Okay, we'll change the banner. Got to keep things moving, right? I do need an assistant, though. I need to get my wife to do it and then take her out to dinner or something. But we have that puppy now, so someone has to be watching that puppy 24/7 because the dog, he is either peeing on something or chewing on something. So he's a full-time job right now. So between my my mom, who lives with us, my daughter, who still lives with us but is going to college here in the fall, and my wife and me, we tag team the little devil and keep him under wraps most of the time. I'm going to start obedience training here, I think in the next week or so. So we'll get him on the, try and convince him to actually start listening to us instead of just looking at us, mocking us, and then continuing to chew on whatever he's not supposed to be chewing on. Once he figures out there's no food in the food bowl unless I put it there, I think we'll get him under control. Have I watched Stargirl on CW? No, I have not. I've seen the ads for it. I'm not much of a TV watcher. I'm anymore. I'm more of a worker. I've got so many things, irons in the fire, if you will, all the time that I feel like if I spend time watching TV, there's something I should be working on. And as I get older, you start thinking, you know, I don't got as many years left to draw some of the stuff I wanted to draw as I used to, so I better get on it. So, although I may be unemployed here before you know it, who knows, with things going on in the comic industry, I may have to go totally independent. We'll see how that works out. But I do have like I said, I just finished Justice League 50, and I'll have a Justice League annual right after that. So we'll see how everything works out. Oh, excuse my reach, but I got to get a drink of water. Yeah, I watched Lost, all 6 seasons of it, and it was so disappointing, the ending, that I swore I would never watch another television series, to get hooked on another television series, and I haven't. Really ticked me off. Although I was predicting about by season 3, I kept telling my son, I kept saying, dude, they are digging themselves into a hole that they're not going to be able to get out of, because they just kept, you know, introducing these more incredibly weird, fantastic things that were completely unrelated. And although it was cool on the surface, you're like, how are they going to connect all this stuff? And of course, they never did adequately. Mike Fiala wants to know, who are some of your influences in the industry? Scott Gross says, hey, with AT&T owning DC, you never know. That's true. I might end up actually get a job in AT&T sales. Who are my influences? Mike Fiala wants to know, who are some of my influences in the industry? Well, do you collect comic art? Yes, I do. But I collect old comics mostly, but I do collect some original art. Let me go up here real quick. There's some toys. That Watcher figure back there was like a Diamond Select Direct or something, and it's worth like $80 or something and of course I took it out of the box and tossed the box like an idiot. I've got tons of action figures in the box, but the ones that are actually worth money are the ones I took out of the box. I wouldn't sell it anyway. Well, I might. Anyway, so there's a couple of pieces I have just hanging on the wall. That color one is it's John Buscema, inked by Rudin Nebres, colored by Peter Ledger, and it's all on the board. I mean, the coloring, it's not an overlay. The watercolor is on the actual penciled and inked paper. And that was from Warriors of the Shadow Realm, which is a Marvel Super Special magazine from 1978, 79, and 79. And I was a big fan of fantasy stuff, and so I'll tell you why in a second. And that other one is from, and there's a Simonson Thor over there in the corner. Don't you wish you had that? Okay, that's from Marvel Premiere number 38. That's a Weird World story, the first color Weird World story. I think it's the actual second Weird World story. That's by Plug, inked by Nino. And again, it's elves fantasy stuff, which I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for. That Simonson Thor up there was a gift from Walter to me, and so that was really cool. But anyway, so yes, I do collect artwork, but who are my influences? Well, Frazetta was the very first major influence of mine. And then that went to Wrightson. And I had a period where Steranko was like a big influence, and then I went through these stages, you know, when I was 11, when I started reading comics, and I became a hardcore Wrightson fan when I was, well, let's see, when did A Look Back come out? 78, I think. So I would have been 14. So by the time I was 14, I was a huge Wrightson fan, and I really wasn't paying attention to a lot of other people, just mainly Wrightson. But before that, I had like a Jim Starlin phase I went through. I had a Barry Smith phase I went through. I had a John Severin of all people, because he was drawing King Cole, which was my favorite barbarian book. And so I had kind of a Severin phase I went through. Bruner. But the guys that actually really sort of affected the way I draw would be Neil Adams, Frazetta, and Bernie Wrightson. As far as contemporary guys, I mean, there's a lot of guys I admire that are contemporary artists, like Adam Hughes and Travis Charest, and I'm good friends with Terry Dodson. I think he's really good. Dale Keown, I always like Dale's stuff because I'm a big monster guy, and of course, so I loved Pitt, and his work on the Hulk I thought was really, really good. I think the Kubert boys are really good, or Kubert brothers, I should say. Actually, Joe Kubert is obviously fantastic as well. I mean, there's just John Buscema. I mean, I used to always say that I like anybody who's good, and that's pretty much true. And I guess that's a subjective way to look at it, because good is in the eyes of the beholder, right? But the guys that were early influences were Frazetta, Wrightson, and Neil Adams. And I went through a Bolin stage 2, Camelot 3000, and then The Killing Joke, which is still just like such a work of art. It's just amazing. I mean, regardless of how good the story is, just the art is just incredible. So there's a long-winded answer to a very simple question. Thanks, Mike. He likes The Scarlet Witch, and I appreciate it. Yeah, Terry and I share a booth at San Diego every year, and have for 20 years, I guess now. We were just kind of joking the other day on the phone about this. Like, the first year we've missed San Diego, but since they're actually not doing the con, you can't really say we missed it, right? So our string is intact next year, provided we make it next year. Who knows? Might not even be alive. I hope I am, but you never know. So that's why you should buy my artwork now, because if I die by this time next year, think how much money it'll be worth. If you wait till after I'm dead to get it, it'd be like trying to get Buscema's stuff. It was affordable, and then he passed away, and suddenly it wasn't affordable anymore. So that's what happens. I'm a fan of Loeb's work too. All-Star Superman is still one of my favorites. Yeah, Jeff Loeb's a really good writer. I used to know Jeff, and I say that because we used to, talk and stuff at shows, but I haven't seen him in like at least 10 years, maybe longer. So you can't really say that, you're friends with somebody or know somebody you haven't talked to in 12 or 15 years, but I have fond memories of Jeff. He seemed like a really good guy when I did get to hang out with him and talk with him a little bit. Oh, I should, here's some breaking news for you. I can't really guarantee this yet, but Terry and I were discussing doing something together for Comic-Con International over those dates that we would have been at the show, or sometime around that period of time. So we might do a dual virtual con. So that'd be kind of fun, because that would give us, not only you guys a chance to ask us some questions, but give us a chance to interact and probably have some interesting conversations you guys might be interested in. But of course, if we could actually put that together, I mean, I'm going to be doing one regardless. That's what I told Terry. I said, I'm doing one anyway, so if you want to do it together, let me know. So we'll see. Terry's very much a kind of outdoors guy, and so it's like right in the middle of July, you're kind of like, on a weekend, maybe I'll be outside instead, fishing or whatever, hiking. Or me, I never leave the house, so I could actually do a live feed every night, but talk about, boring. I don't know, what's that delicate balance of growing your fan base and making your fan base sick of you because you're overexposed. So, and when I say overexposed, I mean, not without clothes, but I mean, just drawing on the internet or whatever. So I try to space out a little bit so that these things are maybe a little bit more special than just me doing it every night. Although there's people like our good friend Art Taber, who was here earlier, and Mike Miller, those guys, man, they're live streaming constantly. Ethan Van Sciver's live streaming constantly. It's like, I mean, if you go totally independent, I get that. You sort of have to do it. But I'm not totally independent yet. And so trying to balance time to do this and get my work done is difficult. So that's why I don't do it as often as some other guys do. But in some ways, it seems like that's kind of the way the future is going. So we'll see. Yeah, let's see. Michael Chauvelin asks, Aaron, how much is a commission? I loved your sketchbook and Brilliant Penguin you did for me. Oh, thank you. Aren't you like in Ireland or someplace? But yeah, the commissions, I have two, I'll get to it in a minute. Commission prices, because I have two options. I have the con commissions, which I'm doing here, but I only do them during cons or these live feeds. They're not ones that generally you'd call me up or email me and say, hey, Aaron, can I get one of those con commissions? I don't do them as normal commissions. What I do for normal commissions are 11 by 17 full color. And so they're more expensive. But I'm working on one right now. I mean, not right now, I'm working on this, but it's in the process of being worked on. In fact, I'll probably finish it tonight. And I'm going to bring it over and show you guys before I start the con commission so you can see what a color one sort of looks like. But those are $350 for single character with limited background. If you want multiple characters, which I tend to avoid because I'm lazy that way, but they're more expensive and it just kind of goes up depending on what you want. I mean, Josh Olive had, if you guys saw that, I posted it's on my Facebook feed, so you can just kind of scroll down the history and find it. But it's a 11 by 17. It was the Josh Olive wanted, but it was Swamp Thing and tied in with Hamlet, Ophelia from Hamlet. But he didn't want it in color. And so it basically was a 2-character piece with actually a lot of background. But it wasn't in color. In coloring, normally I don't do large scale gray ones either. I usually just do the color, but it just depends. Because every time somebody throws me a curveball, then I'm like into I have to create a whole new sort of price structure. And it's really hard to stay consistent with that stuff because if everybody has something that's completely different, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to charge him $25 more because that's going to take more time or whatever. So I try to keep it simple, but he had such an interesting request that I thought I'd go with it. And so that was a different price than I would have normally charged if it had been full color. And I'm not going to tell you what the price was, but because again, I would normally charge for a 2-character, I would charge $600 in color. And that's with a limited background. But this was in black and white, so then I got to sit there and figure, all right, well, how much less time is it going to take me than if I had to color it and blah, blah, blah. So you can see that's why I avoid giving people too many options because it's just too hard to get a price structure, consistent price structure. And then you're constantly going, wait a minute, I did something like this for a guy 6 months ago. What did I charge him? I can't even remember. And then you don't want to charge somebody less than you charge somebody else or charge somebody more than you charge somebody else. So anyway, you can see the travails of an artist, right? Because I'm really getting your sympathy, I can tell. Let's see. Mayfield Juke says, art. There you go. Hyper Potato. I think you're a long way from overexposed. Plus, more people are home now looking for something to watch. It's true. But if I was on every night, who was your favorite hero growing up? Were you a Marvel or DC guy? I was a Marvel zombie. I mean, I still hardly know anything about DC characters, despite the fact that I've been working there for 12 years. It's amazing. I read the monster books mostly. I mean, I was a huge Spider-Man guy, right? So that was like my number one go-to was Spider-Man. But beyond that, I bought some, you know what I would do? I would always go and buy comics based on the covers, if I like the cover or not, right? So I bought like 2 issues of Iron Man my entire life, but I did it because I liked the cover. And, but Spider-Man, I bought every issue because I read it. And then I was on a while, I was on a tear with Avengers. And then I think Byrne, when he was being inked by Pablo Marcos, or was it Perez? But I had a run in there with those. Captain America, I would buy intermittently. Man-Thing, I bought all the time. Werewolf by Night, I bought all the time. I bought a couple issues of Ghost Rider. Frankenstein Monster, I used to buy that. Oddly enough, most of the superhero books I bought retrospectively. Is that correct? Yeah. So when I got into comics, it was about 1974. And so Wrightson, for example, had already done his run on Swamp Thing. And so I discovered that through a comic book dealer, an old comic dealer. And because they didn't have comic shops, like new comics, they were still buying them at 7-Eleven. And so I discovered Wrightson Swamp Thing at an old bookstore that sold old comics. And so then I would buy all the Swamp Things, right? And then I'd get all my back issues. You know, so I spent a lot of time, and I still do, buying older comics rather than new comics. So I would buy a few off the newsstand, like I said, Spider-Man, and then if I saw a cover of anything that was of interest to me, I would get it. And then if the story was good, then I would go get the continuation of the issue, you know, to read it, and then maybe switch to something else. But I have a lot of superhero comics in my collection, but they're all ones I bought after they came out, you know, older books, collectible, when they were already collectibles. Although when I bought them, I read them back in the day. Now when I buy them, if they're high grade, which most of the stuff I buy is, I don't read it because I don't want to ruin the condition. So I have volumes of Marvel Essentials. Monster books are great, though. Smaller runs, so more value. Well, that's true, but it also has to be the interest. You know, it's like scarcity and interest in it are big factors, obviously. Like House of Mysteries. I used to have all the rights in House of Mysteries and the House of Mystery covers and stuff. And then for some reason, I don't have them. I've traded, throughout my history, I've traded portions of my collection for or sold them, or various around the house projects or whatever. You know, I sold half my collection one time to get a down payment for my first car I bought. So I've gone back and repurchased a lot of that stuff, but I went back and repurchased it all in high grade, so I don't thumb through it anymore. But I used to have all the rights and stuff. I mean, every single thing the guy ever did, I had. I mean, everything, National Lampoons, everything. And so now I'm going back and getting like the rights and stuff that I don't have anymore, and it's way more expensive, so I can tell you that. All right, you know what? I don't know what I can do much more on this. That's, I think, is pretty reasonable. Let's get in a little bit closer here. And for those of you keeping score at home, I did use the Le Pen ink marker to do the inking on this. Okay, so now maybe I'll do it a little bit more down here. You know, here. All right, so now we're going to do a con sketch after this. And that's the more complex version of my artwork, the con sketch. All right, okay, enough of that. So there you go. So this gentleman paid $20. I don't know if he's still here or not. He was here earlier, but anyway, he paid an extra $20 for this, so he got it for $45. So you get the book, you get the sketch, and you get it shipped to your house, right to your door, for $45. I mean, the shipping isn't $45. The shipping is free. The book is $45 with the sketch. Okay, it's still 2020, the year none of us will ever forget for a variety of reasons. You know, I think this is issue one or number 162, but I'm gonna have to check the old, that's my sleeve, the old Bat book to find out what number this actually is. It is number 162, and this is for Steve Branson, and I better mark this as paid because I don't want to charge him twice. That wouldn't be like the most fair thing. Okay. All right, so we'll do that. Now, what did I say, 162? I hope I did, because that's what I'm going to put in here. All right, so this is 162. So we got Scarlet Witch, kind of groovy on the inside front cover. So you get that with all the other goodness that goes with it. Okay, so what do we do now? Well, feast your eyes on that bristle board for 1 minute, and I'll show you the color commission I'm working on. Okay, this is for I believe this guy's in France. So I've been kind of taking my sweet time on it because the last time I shipped to France, and that's took 60 days because of that coronavirus. 60 days. Hey, but it got there. Anyway, so this guy is kind of in no hurry. He wants to sort of wait until France opens up a little bit more, so maybe the postage, the mail will move a little quicker. But anyway, he wanted that, you remember that Death of Superman thing where he came back as several different Superman or whatever, but there was that electric blue Superman. So that's what I'm doing here. So you can see I've started coloring his face already, and that's all in colored pencil. So this will be a combination. I'll go in here and you'll see kind of the technique I use on the convention sketch. I'll go in with some light, cool gray marker probably on this, and then go over the top of it with a blue colored pencil where it needs to be blue. And there's going to be some space behind him, you know, like some black with stars in it behind him a little bit too. So basically one of these would be $350, and these are 11 by 17, and it'll be full color. This, you know, is going to be mostly white and blue, so there's not, you know, a wide variety of color, but it is what it is. Let me go in here real quick and show you the, if I can show you the face, the work on the face. Look at me, I just keep on going closer and closer. I'm gonna have to move this camera over just a bit. All right, there we go. Let's see how close I can actually get in here. All right, that's it. And then I move it right out of camera because that's what you should do. Okay, so you can see sort of the soft detail that goes in there when I'm using the colored pencil and stuff. Maybe I'll do a little bit of this live tomorrow with the colored pencil so you can see how I use the pencil, because it's very different than when I'm doing the marker stuff. And on these full color ones, it's usually a combination of colored pencil and marker, but mostly colored pencil. So you get these really sort of soft gradations, and that you can't really see or appreciate unless you've got it in person. But anyway, so I'm working on that guy, and I do have a list. It's not terribly long. It's about 4 people. I'm hoping to get to those color commissions relatively quickly. I assume that I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait for the script to the Justice League Annual. And so I may have some time to get out a few of them sooner than later. All right, so my convention sketches, however, are 11 by 14, because 11 by 17 it's almost impossible to work on on paper that large on your lap at a convention. And so these are technically con sketches, so I'm treating them as con sketches. This is what you would get at a show. I would be sitting there drawing on my lap as I was talking to people that would happen to come by. All right, let's see. I know everybody wants me to draw their piece on video, but it's impossible because it would take forever. Let's see. Josh Olive wanted a Forbish man, and I'm really tempted to do that. Although I'm guessing most of you guys probably don't care. Supergirl, Huntress, Black Widow, Deja Thoris. Well, you know, the two that I have in my mind clearly right now that I know how I want to do them is I got a Gladiator Hulk to do and a Forbish man. So we're going to work on those for right now and save the girls for tomorrow after I have a chance to think about them a little bit. Yes, I'll be back tomorrow at 3. Scott Gunther says, con. Did I make, oh, con. I get it. Mike Fiala says the books in the 60s are skyrocketing on eBay. You know, they have been skyrocketing. And what I did about 10 years ago when the 60s books were booming, I started buying up 70s books because I knew eventually the 60s books would get so high priced that people would move into the Bronze Age and start buying those up. And sure enough, they have. So I got a lot of my 70s books, which I bought when I was a kid, but didn't have a lot of them left because I'd either sold them or traded them for something or other. But so I was back in rebuying them at higher grade. And so I was able to get like Supernatural Thrillers number 5, which is the first appearance of the Living Mummy, which actually jumped up to like $120 or something. I mean, just practically like overnight, but I got it for like $15. The Shang-Chi, the first appearance of Shang-Chi, that Marvel Special Edition 15, that black cover, got a near mint copy of that for $27 on eBay. It's now a $300 and some book. Iron Fist number 1, Luke Cage number 1, books like that. I don't have a first appearance of Wolverine. I don't have a Hulk 181. That was already through the roof price-wise. But so anyway, I bought as many 70s books, Doctor Strange number 1, things like that as I could, while I was still buying, you know, other older books too. But I got a lot of good deals on 70s books that have since really gone up in price. All right. If you guys don't know who Forbish Man is, you're about to find out. Back in the early 90s, when I first got my first job at Marvel, they had a humor book called What the? And it was just basically they do parodies of their own characters, right? And the kind of, how should we say, the Alfred E. Newman of the book was Forbish Man, who was Irving Forbish, this little guy who lived with his Aunt Mayhem. Get it? And so he wanted to be a superhero, but he had no superpowers. But he took a cooking pot, cut eye holes in it, and got some red long johns and rubber boots and pinned a blue blanket around his neck to be a. So anyway, he was kind of like the humorous mascot of this book. And what I proposed to do was start doing actual Forbish Man stories. And so that's what I did. Where everybody else was doing parodies of the superheroes, I was doing like Forbish Man stories, like Tin Head Detective. So it was like he was a noir detective, or he went to the Salem witch trials and met the Scarlet Witch character. I mean, just stuff like that. And so I wrote, penciled, and inked these stories. And, my penciling was average to below average. My inking was below average. My writing was exceptionally funny, though. But anyway, so I was sort of learning the craft a little bit as I was working on these humor stories for What The. And so anybody that, has followed my career since really the beginning would be aware of this, which most people are not. But so this is kind of a throwback to my earliest work at Marvel. Whenever anybody brings up, it surprises me when people bring up Sludge, because that's, but that's where most people first saw my work. But when people bring up What The and Forbish Man, then I know that they're serious, because they were there at the very beginning. Although it's still not the very first stuff I did. And I'm not going to tell you what the first stuff I did was, because it's horrific. Okay, I'll tell you. The very first comic that I did, my first pro work. Actually, let me take a sidebar real quick. I asked this question of Michael Golden, and Michael told me, because it's listed in the price guide, that his very first pro work is in this, like, 1975. Marvel did these Marvel Classic comics where they did like The Time Machine and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and just classic works of literature in comic form, like they used to do Classics Illustrated from back in the 40s and 50s. Well, they did The Pit and the Pendulum, and it's listed in the price guide that was Michael Golden's first pro work. And he said that's not true. He said that wasn't his first pro work, but he would not tell me what his first pro work was. He might now if I asked him, but so he clearly didn't want anybody to know what his first pro work was. And maybe I shouldn't tell you what mine is either. John Smith points out that Forbish Man was actually created in the 60s in a humor series called Not Brand Eck, which was a Marvel, started in 1966, I believe. And so What The was sort of a 90s incarnation of the 60s series Not Brand Eck. So he originally showed up in Not Brand Eck #5 was his first appearance, which I have in near mint condition. I just, it's not really worth all that much, but I do have it. And it's kind of an easier sketch to do, to kind of get warmed up on. So before we get into Gladiator Hulk, which would be immensely more challenging. But oddly enough, I charge the same price, because that's just how I am. I'm just kind of a mercenary that way. Again, I charge the same price because I don't want to get into creating little nooks and crannies of pricing for slightly different things. I should charge anybody with a cape. I should charge more, but I won't. All right. So I will say this. The one thing I did with the character, I tried to make him a superhero. Like I gave him superhero boots and gloves. And they were like, no, that ruins the character. That's not who he's supposed to be. And I was like, and I had this whole origin thing planned out and story, and they nixed it. And so I had to go back to the long johns and rubber boots. But the way they drew him in Not Brand Eck was they drew 2 holes here, and then they drew his eyes in there, like his eyes, like the head was like behind the mask kind of thing. I actually made his eyes part of the helmet, like a Looney Tunes or Warner Brothers cartoon kind of eyes, Howard the Duck kind of eyes, And so that was my contribution. So I could make him, show his little eyebrows on the pot, which obviously he wouldn't have. But that's kind of how I did it. And that was how I could get more expression out of him that way. And no one called me on it and said, "What are you doing? That's not realistic." And here you go. This is what happens when you draw Forbish Man. Yes, Randy, it is Forbish Man. Okay, now here's something interesting that has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but this is a 0.3 lead, by the way, HB in a mechanical pencil. That way I don't have to sharpen it all the time. A lot of these guys do these live feeds, like on YouTube and stuff. And then like people will say, give them like $2 or something to kind of like read their question or something. I don't understand that. Like if somebody wanted to, like Randy, like I just put that thing up there for Randy, this Forbish Man, someone would want a shout out. And so you put it up there and, whatever their topic of discussion is. And they'd pay you like $2 to do it. I don't really understand how that works, but you guys who are much more knowledgeable of this live streaming stuff might have a clearer sense of how that actually works or what it actually is. I mean, I don't know. I clearly need to spend a little more time working on my research and understanding of live streaming. But I'm kind of one of those guys, like, show me just enough so I can do it and leave me alone. Like, I've been using Photoshop for 20 years, and I still barely know how to use it. I mean, I know how to do what I want it to do most of the time, but yeah, I'm not like these guys that do these amazingly cool effects. Like, I'm like, how did they do that? I mean, I have no clue. Now, if I'd read a book on it, spend a little time, I probably would know, but there you go. I'm too busy drawing all the time. Too old-fashioned. Okay, here's a little story. So, speaking of Forbish Man, my first published work at Marvel, there's a John Byrne did a cover of What the? And I want to say it was number 3, number 6, something like that. But it had this super huge muscular version of Forbish Man with a gun and just blasting away like this. And a little tiny Forbish Man down in the corner looking up going, oh, I'm so strong or whatever. And well, John Byrne had actually based that on the first pages I had turned into, I think Terry Kavanagh was the editor. Yeah, he was when I first started on What the. And I had drawn him with the gloves and the superhero boots, right? Which they later made me go in and change. But Byrne used that for the reference on his cover. So you've got Forbish Man with these superhero gloves and stuff, this big muscular version of him. And they're like, oh, we got to change this. Well, I was sitting outside Terry Kavanagh's office, which I would sneak into the Marvel offices, right? Because I got in really good with the receptionist, and she would just buzz me in. And even though I had no appointment and wasn't supposed to be there. And so I just go, and if any editor had his door open, and they were like on the phone or something, I would go and sit in the doorway or sit, so they could see me with my portfolio and just sit there, right? And then eventually they would get off the phone and go, can I help you? And I go, yeah, hi, I'm blah, 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 showing my portfolio, whatever, right? So I did this to Terry Kavanagh once, and he actually closed the door on me because he was talking on the phone. I was sitting outside his office just waiting to do, and he closed the door on me. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, and he's the guy that actually gave me my first work. But so he had this cover of Forbish Man by John Byrne, and he had drawn it with these gloves on it, these superhero gloves, and they needed to be changed. He wanted it changed for the cover, which made no sense to me. I was like, what does it matter? But so they wanted it changed. So I was sitting there, I heard this conversation. I went, hey, I can do that. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, I can go in there and because I had been working in commercial art for a couple of years before I got into comics. So one thing I do really well is I can correct mistakes on original art really well. And so I said, I can go in and fix it. So I took it and went to the bullpen in the middle of the offices at Marvel where they had a few drafting tables set up. And I sat down there and with, I'd got my brush and ink out and re-inked part of the arm and whited out the part that wasn't supposed to be there and basically fixed the cover. And so my first thing I ever actually really did was do a correction on John Byrne's art. So that I thought I was just like, oh my gosh, I am messing around with John Byrne's art, but I was, and it actually turned out really well. So there you go. But as you can see, I got kind of Daffy Duck eyes going here. My original story with Forbish Man, he was in, superhero hell, superhero Hades, whatever. And so he was, so the opening scene was, it wasn't a splash page, but it was a big panel on this page where Forbish Man is sitting in with all these other dead superheroes, right? Because this was it was early 90s. I mean, really, or like 91, maybe 90. And so they hadn't really brought everybody back from the dead yet. And so I had this page, and it had all these dead superheroes, and I still have the page. These dead superheroes and villains, like Elektra and the Green Goblin and Gwen Stacy. I had Robin in there because he had just got crowbarred to death by Joker. If you remember that, they had that thing where you could phone in and say if you wanted to kill Robin. I phoned in like 10 times, so I wanted Robin dead so badly. Did John Byrne hold a grudge against you for that? No, but we had some other encounters that were not related to that at all. Yeah, so anyway, with the moral of the story. So anyway, that's how that story started, where I brought Forbish Man back from the dead, basically. But it was a fun little start to the story. Yeah, I've had a few encounters with John Byrne. We were at Motor City Con, and me and Rick Leonardi were going to go out to dinner, and Byrne sort of invited himself along, which is fine. I mean, he's John Byrne, right? And we went to dinner, and somehow we got on the topic of religion a little bit, and never fails, right? Is it important or is it not? Okay. So my daughter, who I told her I was live streaming, texting me, I'm on my way home. Okay, great. Anyway, so the topic got onto religion a little bit, and Rick Leonardi was Catholic. I'm a Christian, and Byrne said something that really was completely incorrect and ticked me off. But he said it like arrogantly, and that's what really, I can take a lot, but if people start talking down to me, I get really pissed. And so yeah, we got a little heated, and then but we didn't, there was no bloodletting or anything. And then I ran into him at one of the Portland, back when Dark Horse was just doing the Legends imprint, Hellboy and all, and Byrne was doing New Men or something like that. And we were in this huge island of tables, and Byrne was sitting across from me. And it was like, I mean, seriously, McFarlane was at this con, Frank Miller was at this con, Mignola was at the con, Byrne was at the con, Adam Hughes was at the con. I mean, it was and nobody was there. It's the most amazing thing. And so Byrne was sitting over there, and he, standing over there by his table, and he had nobody at his table. And so I couldn't let that slide by without saying something. So I said, "Hey, there's John Burns sitting over there all by himself," or something like that, and he said something about the fact like, "Oh, you're one to talk. You haven't had anybody at your table all day." And I go, "Yeah, but I'm not supposed to have anybody at my table." So that was that. But I think it was all sort of good-natured fun. I mean, I think it was. I don't know. He probably doesn't remember me anyway. So that's all I got for you on the John Byrne front. Because I just don't even remember actually, other than that one show, I don't think and those two shows, I don't remember ever actually seeing him at a convention. Let's put that up there. Mayfield jukes. I didn't say that. Actually, I never read it, so I don't know. Denny O'Neil is a great guy. So I've heard. I never had the pleasure of meeting Denny. I met Archie Goodwin once, in terms of legendary writer, editorial guys, but I never met Denny O'Neil. I got lectured by Neil Adams for not charging for my signature once, but I've never actually met Denny O'Neil, or never got the opportunity to meet him. But I did spend a lot of my youth as a comic book artist, when I was a young comic book artist, when most people were networking with people their own age. I was chasing down the older guys that I admired, like Simonson and Plug and Wrightson, and becoming friends with those guys, and ignoring all my contemporaries. And that's probably still why I don't really have a lot of friends of my generation in the industry. But what are you going to do? But I can say, hey, I know Walter Simonson. And I know Mike Plug. I met Bernie Wrightson. That is the thing, huge Wrightson fan. I met Wrightson multiple times. I went to dinner with him, had drinks with him, although I don't really drink, but it was at a bar. He was, and I've been to dinner with the guy a couple times. I sat next to him at a show in Seattle. So I met the guy, and you just got to understand, I completely idolized the guy, right, growing up. And a lot of people did, obviously, but to be able to go to dinner with him and ask him questions about stuff, and it was really cool. But every time I would see him again, he never remembered me, never. And so I would be constantly re-meeting him, oh yeah, hi, yeah, we had dinner at the Portland show 2 months ago, and he's like, had no idea what I was talking about. So finally I gave up on Bernie, but it was a very humbling experience. Let me see. I would be too nervous to get something by Byrne. He's probably mellowed in his old age. Let's see. Because he used to talk about Jason Todd at his panels all the time. Oh, okay. Neil Adams can be a little rough. Neil's a funny guy. Yeah. Do I know Sam Keith, Bart Sears, and Dave Dorman? I know Bart Sears and Dave Dorman. I've never met Sam Keith, but I do know Bart really well and Dave a little bit. All right, so there's pretty much. Well, actually, let me do the cape here. Now, I'll let you guys know tomorrow when I do this at 3 o'clock. we're going to go start to finish on a. Today I'm going to pencil 2 of these, but I'm not going to finish them because it literally takes 2+ hours to go from start to finish on a single character. Tomorrow I'm going to do that with either Black Widow or whatever my choices are. I have to go, to go look again. I forgot already. But anyway, I'll do one of those tomorrow from start to finish, and that'll be the big. I'm not going to spend as much time selling tomorrow. I'll give you a brief overview of what I've got. Again, for those who weren't with me today, but yeah. So, all right. So this guy, that's the penciling. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and ink him. I'm going to ink this one, and then we'll pencil the Gladiator Hulk and call it a day. But this is fun. Forbish Man's a good time. I'm going to give him some little texture there to his blanket, because you got to believe in the fuzzy blanket. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Appearance?
Hmm?
Second appearance?
I don't know. He's going to look just like he did the first time. You're going to have to be in it. You have to
no.
hold him.
Forbish Man.
I know. Talk about a throwback.
Wow.
Shelley remembers those days.
Vaguely.
Well, she was coming in for a second showing of the dog, but with my luck, I'd grab the dog and he'd pee on the art. So if you didn't catch the puppy at the beginning of the show, you're going to have to go back and watch the beginning of this live feed to see the puppy. Let's see. Ooh, a bunch of questions just jumped in. Mike says, I'm really enjoying the con and your funny stories. I appreciate that, Mike, especially the part where you're saying my stories are funny. I appreciate that because they're supposed to be. Let's see. Sears and Dorman are super cool guys and like you with your art very distinguishable. Well, thank you for saying that my art is distinguishable, because sometimes I feel it gets lost in the crowd. I appreciate that. Dorman's a class guy. As far as I know, yes, he is. And I say that because most guys I know just through convention circuit, so it's not like we've been over the house for dinner or anything, but he's always came off as a really nice guy. Oh, Warren gives me to my very first cover, that had to have been there's 2 versions of my first cover. I did a couple of back covers for and made them flip books. And like I said, I like to say that I invented the flip book, but I can't remember if I did or not, but I think I did. But if you can find any flip books from Marvel, because that became a really big thing for a while, if you can find any flip books that came out before my first What the flip book, then I didn't invent it. But if you can't, then I did invent it, because at least that's how I remember it. But my first cover, like front cover, was a Star Trek Forbish Man cover from What the number 18. And I don't know if Warren is showing my first back cover or my first cover, but you can hit the link and find out. Let's see. I actually took a picture with Neil Adams for free once. For free? Wow. That in and of itself is amazing. The good old days, right? Well, John, by the time your Hi Shelley came up, Shelley already left, but I will pass it on to her for you. She just got up from a nap with the dog, and when the dog wakes up from a nap, you better take him outside to go pee, or you're going to be cleaning up in the house. So I'm sure she was zipping downstairs to make sure he got outside in time. I'm using a 0.8 here. When I go in and do some of the finer feathering, I'll use probably a 0.1 or a 3. Dorman was one of the first autographs I got. There you go. I didn't actually get an opportunity to go to any cons where artists appeared when I was a kid. because I'm in Portland, Oregon, and that's not exactly, I mean, it's more of a hotbed now, but it wasn't back then. So they'd have like the Portland Comic Book Show, which was cool. It was at a Masonic temple right on the park blocks that are probably being run by Antifa right now. So, but anyway, it was this old, like, it had like a main floor, and then it had an upstairs, but the upstairs was like a balcony that wrapped all the way around, like one big horseshoe, upper level horseshoe. So you had dealers up on this balcony, right? And you could be on the balcony, kind of look down on the main floor, and you go on the main floor. And so there was a ton of comic book dealers there. And it's possible that there was artists there that I didn't know of, because I was, new to the collecting thing. And, if it had been like Spider-Man artist Ross Andu or somebody like that, I would have known. But man, there was like, that's the one thing I miss about cons now. Cons are more media events than they are like comic book shows. And there was, there'd be a guy that had like all these old famous monsters of filmlands, right? Or old movie posters. Several people with Golden Age books, right? And I actually got a picture of me in the newspaper. I was looking at this dealer had driven up from Eugene or someplace, and they had this really cool shop, and they had tons of Golden Age stuff, right? And back then I wasn't a condition hound at all, so it was just like finding the issue in at least decent condition was all that mattered. And I never knew what was coming out, right? And Wrightson at that time was doing all these, they started doing the portfolios, not just the Frankenstein stuff, but the other portfolios they did, like apparitions and things like that. And so I had no idea as a kid, right, when this stuff was coming out or if it was coming out. So I would go to one of these conventions or comic book shows. A convention is probably too grandiose of a term. But I would go there, and there'd be a dealer who would have like a Frankenstein portfolio, and you're like, mind instantly blown, right? And, so that was like the cool thing about comic shows. When you're a kid, you go there and you have no idea what you're going to find. Now it's pretty predictable. If you're hunting old comic books, you may find what you're looking for, you may not, so you can always be surprised that way. But when you're a kid and there's this Wrightson Frankenstein portfolio that you didn't even know existed, and there it is for $15, and or some of the old, I always kind of classify everything around Wrightson because that was the stuff I was really into. And he, like the New Mutants book came out, which was like a paperback collection of Wrightson's black and white independent stories he had done. And or Bad Time Stories, which is actually the first version of New Mutants, or pardon me, not New Mutants. Okay, it was Bad Time Stories was the very first one, but that came out in like 71 or 72, so that was already a collectible by the time I started collecting. And then his next collection, which was basically the same stories but in a different format, was not the Mutants. That was the third collection of the same stuff, but it was oh my gosh, it had that big farmer, and he was chasing these mutants out of his hen yard. It was a great piece. What was the name of that book? It was a collection. Someone knows, right? God, I can see it. Was it a Look Back? No, it wasn't Look Back. That was his art book. It was it's driving me crazy. Anyway, but I'd go and see this book, and I'm like, what is this? And it's the first time I'd ever saw it or heard of it, right? So what I finally learned to do is I got a subscription to the Buyer's Guide to Comics Fandom, which was a newspaper. It was a literal comic book newspaper that came out once a week. And it had articles and stuff about, basically it was a fandom paper, right? A fanzine kind of paper, but they had tons of ads in it. And everybody would put, if they had something coming out like Wrightson Conan or Barry Smith Conan portfolio, they would advertise it in there, and when a Look Back came out, that big Wrightson retrospect, that's where I first saw the ad for it, and you'd cut out the order form that was right there in the print ad, you know, and it was $100 or whatever, and you mail it in and secure your order. And that's how I eventually started finding out about stuff and ordering stuff. I was lucky enough to, Randy Funk says, I was lucky enough to live in New York and went to lots of cons in the 70s and 80s. That would have been the place to be because everybody lived in New York. He met Perez, Byrne, Austin, Bruner, Mignola, and Stan Lee several times. They all signed for free back then. Yep. I started signing. I mean, I still literally sign for free because I just don't think, I just don't feel right about it. But if you bring me more than 10 books, then I charge you because at that point, you're just annoying me. Not really. I understand there's people that, you know, they have everything I've ever done and they want me to sign everything. And I'm just like, dude, that's 150 books. I'm not signing all those, but I'll sign 10. You know, give me your 10 favorites. I'll sign for free. I think that's reasonable. But I never thought I'd get to a point in my career where I actually had someone bringing up a stack of 100 books to sign, but it has happened. But yeah, I have very fond memories of those cons when I was a kid. And I can't even, oh, you know, and I would have to go, because we didn't have comic shops, right? So I'd go to used bookstores, would have old comics in them. And if they're, you know, if you happen to be there at the right time, someone would have a flyer promoting a show. And that's how I would, you know, find out about the shows. So who knows how many shows I actually missed because I just had no clue they were even going on. By the time I was 16, I, you know, could drive. I had was dialed in to what was going on. And by 16, I think when I was in high school, the first comic shops were opening up. So I had a little bit more pipeline into what was going on. But even then, the comic shops sort of took away the mystique because you could always find stuff at a comic shop. Now you can't find anything at a comic shop because all they have is new comics. And I understand why they can't overorder. So a lot of times if you get there a couple days late, whatever you wanted is sold out. And then they have like action figures, you know. No one has old comics anymore. I mean, Bedrock City does in Houston, and I know there's other dealers that do. I have dealers I know that I get a lot of my books from. But they're not like they used to be where every comic shop had old, you know, back issues. Because that's just not where they make their money anymore. That's the other thing. It's like finding a comic book. Oh my gosh, an old comic. It was so hard back then. Like I said, I have to find ads. Like sometimes in comic books, they would run ads for, you know, guys that were dealers, and you'd have to send them in. They go, send us 50 cents, right? So you put, or quarter, you know, so you put 25 cents in an envelope and mail it to them, and they would, they'd send you back this, you know, Xerox copy typed up, you know, what they had in their inventory. And they'd always say, you know, make second and third choices because by the time you order something, we may not have it anymore, you know. And so you're like, well, if I want Spider-Man 28, which I actually did order a pretty nice copy back in the day, it's like, I don't want them to send me, you know, Thor 165 instead because they don't have, you know. So, but you had to order it and send the check, right? So, you know, they had your money, so you better have like multiple choices for them to fulfill that order because they weren't going to send you your check back, I'm sure. But I guess my point was it was hard to find books that you wanted back then. Now it's easy. You know, with eBay and bigger cons and knowing dealers and the internet and everything, it's not, I mean, there's still books that are hard to find, like in certain, if you're not just looking for the book, but you're looking for a book in a certain condition. Oops, sorry, I need to get this up here so you can see. It gets a little bit more challenging, but it's really not anywhere near as difficult to find that stuff as it used to be. And that was kind of the fun of collecting, right? Was I've been looking for this book for years. I finally found it. Let's see here. Once got up at 4 a.m. for Perez and got a Superman sketch, third in line. 4 a.m. Wow, that's dedication. Randy Funk says, I miss the buyer's guide, especially, but I digress by Peter David. That's true. That's right. He used to write that. I remember that. I didn't, the funny thing is I didn't really read the articles that much unless it was specifically on someone that I was interested in. I just looked for the ads to see what people were selling and what new stuff outside of comics was coming out, because the studio, Wrightson and Jones and Kaluta and Barry Smith were all doing extra stuff. And so I was really trying to keep track of that stuff. And a lot of guys, there was that portfolio phase from like 1975 to 1980 where everybody was doing an artist's portfolio. And so I was really keen on that stuff when it came out. So I was always on the lookout for that type of stuff more so than, people's columns and articles. I do remember still getting the buyer's guide after I was married. How is that even possible? They must have been published up into the 90s, because I was married and had a kid. And I remember I found, I was married and had a kid, and I had my son, Josh. I should make that sound a little bit more like it means something to me. It does, I'm not saying it doesn't, but you know what I mean? Anyway, and somebody had and this was like prior to the internet, or the internet was just really just sort of starting up. And this guy he was having a phone auction, and he had a bunch of old Golden Age books and some really cool stuff. And one of the things he had that I was looking for, because I remember seeing pictures of it when I was a kid in the price guide, and it was called The Mask of Fu Manchu. And it was Avon published it back in the mid 50s or early 50s, and it had Wally Wood did the cover and the interior art, so it was like really, really good. But I really loved the cover, and he had a copy of it, and so I was like calling him and bidding on this. It was like a time limit, right? It's over at 3 o'clock or whatever, and I would call the guy up and bid, right? And then if somebody outbid me, he would call in and he'd call me back and say, okay, so-and-so just bid this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so with just like 259 or whatever, just like a minute before the auction closed, I said, okay, I want to bid 300. I think is what I bid on. It was $300. And that was a lot back in the 90s, but it was one of those books I had to have, right? So, well, then like 3 minutes, he goes, okay, it's yours. And then 3 minutes after the auction closed or whatever, he goes, oh no, somebody just called in and bid it up to 3 1/4. And I'm like, oh, so he basically took a bid after the auction was over and screwed me. So so he's like, so if you want it, you got to pay $330 or whatever. And I went, fine. So I ended up paying more than I wanted to do for it, but I got it. So it doesn't really matter now, because it was 26 years ago. But yeah, can you imagine a phone auction like that? Yeah, that's right. Hyper Potato says a lot of early mail order sources would send credit vouchers instead of refunds for out of stock items. Yep. Peter David lives on Long Island and used to shop in the Disney store I worked at. How about that? Just came in regularly, huh? Yeah, I never, when I was 19, Archie Goodwin came and appeared at a comic shop in Portland that I would frequent. And I knew the guy that owned the store. In fact, he still runs it, I think. I haven't been over there in years, but so I had my samples set up right, and I was convinced that I was talking to my mom going, wow, I don't know if I'm ready to go to New York. I'm only 19, but I can't pass up this opportunity. Basically, I would convince myself that Archie Goodwin was going to offer me a job, before I even went down there. And I showed him the portfolio. He goes, yeah, this is nice. And that was it. So I wasn't quite ready for the pros yet, but so that was a little eye-opening for me. I was another great humbling portion of my life. Had plenty of those. But yeah, so I got to meet him briefly. That was kind of cool. All right, I'm going to put in the shadows in here, and then we're going to move to Gladiator Hulk. Now this is going to get gray markered up, which I'll probably do off camera, but I'll show you guys the finished piece tomorrow. Although even on these con commissions, if I do them all in gray, but anything that's red, I will use a red marker on, like Wonder Woman's bustier, or in this case, Forbish Man's Long John, so they will seem like it's a color piece, even though it really isn't. So I do stuff that's red, gray, and black. The real talent, though, I have to admit, is learning to draw and talk at the same time. I used to really not be able to do that very well, but I still sometimes get distracted while I'm talking. But I've figured out a way to kind of manage that so I can continue to ramble on while I'm drawing. So this isn't just like 2 hours of silence of me drawing. I guess I could put in like soothing music, right? But where do you find 2 hours of soothing? I guess you get Muzak, right? But don't you have to buy that? It's like a Muzak tape or something. I don't know. I used to do a lot of how-to kind of, or what do you call them? Process videos on YouTube, but I started doing these live streams, and now they're like, it take up more time doing the live streams than I do the process videos. But I found that, I mean, these are essentially process videos because you're watching me draw, even though I'm not really breaking down a whole lot of what I'm doing. I'm telling stories instead. But I've got to figure out a way to kind of strike a balance to do these live feeds, but also continue to do those other videos that aren't live, that I can actually edit and so we'll see. If I get a little bit of time here, which I think I'm going to have, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a lot of time, but like doing a video on the next episode of Kit Carter, or progress with Garbage Man, or things like that, are what I would like to do, where I'm actually working on finished stuff as opposed to, I mean, this is technically a finished piece of artwork, but it's a, convention sketch by definition. Forgot the top of his boot here, so maybe I should finish that. All right, so there's Forbish Man, at least in black and white. And again, I'll show you the finished one tomorrow if you're able to tune in. And since these are all like commissions for specific people, I don't like to post them online on my Facebook feed or until they've actually got them in their hands and okay it. It doesn't seem right to me that other people should be enjoying a piece of artwork that I did specifically for them when they don't even have it yet. So I try to wait at least until the people that ordered the piece get it. But since I'm doing it live on Facebook, I will show you guys, and YouTube, I will show you the finished product of this. But I'll also post it at some point once it's finished. And the scans are always nicer than what you don't get really high def on these. In fact, you get what I like to call low def. I love the good old days of comic book signings back in the 90s. Jeez, that's the good old days. Yeah. I wish that was the good old days for me. Let me take a quick break here and show you guys this stuff again. This is my table. I have sketchbooks available, the hardcover, 20 years of sketches, a Raw Imagination. That's a 64-page hardcover full-color sketchbook. I can do sketches on the inside. If you'd like, you can order those. And let me put the banner up for a little ordering information. If I can find it. There it is. Yeah. But this week only, no, it's free shipping. So it's $45 if you want one of the sketchbooks with the sketch in the inside. If you don't, you just want the sketchbook, it's $25 free shipping. The Fantastical Creatures paperback behind here, this book, that's $10 signed, free shipping. All my greeting cards, I went over all 10 of those. They're all listed on my website under this, in the store option. So if you want to go check those out, but those are, you can get the entire set for $12, free shipping this weekend only. I've got these comic books that are available and some trades. I'm putting a $10 minimum on the comic book stuff though, just because if it's less than that, it's hardly worth me the amount of the cost of the stuff I have to pack it in and then driving it to the post office. So if there's $10 worth of comics in there you'd like from me signed, let me know. The comics are $2.50 a piece, except the Silver Sludge is $5, and these premium covers on Justice League 42 are $5 a piece. The trades I think are already all spoken for. I had 2 Swamp Things. I know the hardcover Dark Multiverse has already been purchased, and I'll see if I can dig up some more trades tomorrow for Sunday to put out. These are 60% off, and I'm not going to do the math, but and free shipping. So, and I've got original art, tons of original art, which I previewed. I would encourage you, if you're coming in late or just joining me now, to go back after this is over and look at the beginning of the video where I go through a more detailed viewing of the original art. And I've got tons of prints that are over here that are available. I'm going to show you them, just the new ones real quickly. And you can the prints are $15 a piece, signed and numbered if they're numbered. Some of them aren't limited edition. This one isn't limited, but most of them are. But they're at least signed and shipping is free, $15 a piece. And then I've got, so that's Warrior Nouveau. Then I've got Warrior in Repose. And I've got Girl Power, which is a very popular one with the kids. I'm going to show you this because this Rosie the Riveteer print has actually been fairly popular. These are all listed on my website as well. If you want a better shot of them, you go to my website, aaronlopresti.com, and you can take a look at what I've got there. The only thing that's not listed on that website is this brand spanking new Captain America print. Captain's Quarry, I call it. It will be up shortly, but it's not now. And that's $15, signed and numbered, limited to 100. And again, free shipping. Free shipping on all this merchandise except the original art in the US. And I apologize for that, but if you like, you know, if you're in France or Australia or something, it's just, it costs like $35 to mail them there. So it'd be like a zero-sum game for me to do that. So sadly, you do have to pay for the shipping if you're outside the US, and I apologize for that, but what are you going to do? But inside the US, free shipping on all this stuff. All right, so I do have an idea. Did I give anybody motion sickness? Are you guys all barfing right now? I do have an idea in my head, pretty clear idea of what I want to do for Planet Hulk. So that's why I'm going, or Gladiator Hulk. So I'm going to jump in and do that. If you guys want to order any of that stuff I just showed, all you have to do is email me at aaron@aaronlopresti.com. As you can see, it's right there scrolling even as we speak. That's my PayPal address. That's also my email address. If you want any of the prints or you want the card set or the books, you can just PayPal me the money directly and make sure you just put in the message box what you just sent me money for so I know. If you want the comics, you're going to have to email me because there's variants and there's all sorts of, it's too complicated. So, or if you want the original art, any of the original art, you're going to have to email me about that as well. But the books, the cards, the prints, you can just PayPal me the money for them and make sure I have your current mailing address and tell me what you're ordering, and I will, all this stuff's going to get shipped off on Tuesday of next week. And that I can pretty much get, unless something happens that, unforeseen, of course, but under normal circumstances, like I said, I just finished up Justice League, so I have a little bit of free time. So I know for a fact I can get all this stuff packaged up either Sunday night or Monday and get it all out of here on Tuesday. So there you go. I will also put up my contact banner information. There it is, aaron@aaronlopresti.com. That's my email. Aaron, let me try that again. Aaron@aaronlopresti.com is my email. www.aaronlopresti.com is my website, and then my PayPal address is aaron@aaronlopresti.com. So it's really pretty simple. As long as you can spell my name correctly, we should be able to do business. Okay. Why am I still having trouble with this thing? All right. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Gladiator Hulk. Do I sign the comics? Yes, Randy. That's what makes it so great. They're less than cover price, and I'm signing them. So let's see. And I don't mind the stories. Talking to creators as cons is hearing these kind of tales is half the fun of going. It's true. I could sit around and listen to old creators, and I guess now I'm an old creator, but creators that are older than me and listen to their stories. I love it. Oh man, I went to dinner with Jim Stranko. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe the stories. Hyper Potato says, very nice Forbish man. Thank you, sir. Wait till I get him all shined up with the markers. I'll show it tomorrow. Okay. All right, so I remember what I was going to do. Hulk is, I got to be careful that because he's such a large character that you can sort of, if you start with his head too big, you're going to end up without being able to fit him on the page. The hard thing is when you have to draw the same character multiple times, it's kind of like you're always trying to figure out a new way to a new pose to put him in, so that everybody's not getting the exact same drawing. I mean, it's really kind of a no-win situation, especially with everybody. With these comic art galleries and everything, people usually post their art, right? So, excuse me. So, if I did all the same poses, you'd still look at it and say, okay, oh well, Aaron, all he's doing is the same pose over and over again, and then you'd be comparing, well, this one turned out better than that one or whatever. But then if you do something different, you're like, well, that pose is much cooler than the one I got. So it's no-win situation, right? Do the best you can and hope that people are satisfied with what they're getting. as you can see, I don't really stick figure these out. I just kind of shape them out. So I gotta really be careful I don't run out of room. I don't think there's enough energy in it. So Aaron blows up his first idea already. That's better. I don't know if I want to pull that all the way back like that, do I? I've got to make sure that I go lightly with the blue pencil, because if I make it too, if I push too hard, then it doesn't want to erase as well. I don't really want to damage the paper, especially on a commission. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal on an original page of art. But on somebody's commission, I want to make sure that it's as clean as possible. Okay. I think I'll draw this like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. Hang on a second. This is for Paul Pyro. He's probably going, oh my gosh, Aaron, figure out what you're going to do. You're ruining my art. Just want to get his stance the way I want it here. Okay, I think I'm onto something now. Yeah. And this is really the challenge of con commissions, because you gotta do this stuff on the spot, man. And if it doesn't turn out well, then you're in a little bit of trouble. All right, let's see if we can turn this into something. I think maybe I want to extend this head over farther. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Feeling better about myself all of a sudden. Gladiator Hulk, yeah. Roscoe, these are not from a previous Aaron Con. These are ones these commissions were, well, people have been contacting me since the last Aaron Con to get on the list. And so some of these are from that. Last couple of them just came in this last week. I put up a thing on Facebook. If you want one of these con commissions, like I said, they're $200. If you want one, you can contact me like immediately and say, hey, Aaron, put me on the list for the next Aaron Con, which will be in July. Around the time of San Diego. And that may be in with Terry Dodson. I don't know. We'll see if that works out. Yeah, let's see how do I want to do that. And see, I'm not exactly following the blue line. I'm kind of creating my own as I go when I do it with the pencil. But the blue line at least gives me kind of an underdrawing structure to use. Planet Hulk was a really special project that I was sort of fell into and was quite happy that I was able to contribute. For my money, it's the best Hulk storyline ever, and to me, it ranks right up there with Simonson's work on Thor with Beta Ray Bill. I mean, not in terms of, I'm trying to compare my art to Walter's or anything like that, but I just mean just what the story meant to the character. And I think this is as important to Hulk as Beta Ray Bill's storyline is to Thor, I guess is what I'm saying. It's interesting, Greg Pak, the writer, he went to film school at NYU, and I went to film school at USC. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic. I mean, we got along great. He's a really, really nice guy, really good writer. But we had a lot of film school stories to kind of tell. So we hit it off right away. I think this head's a little too big. The thing I got to remember when I'm drawing the Hulk is start off with a smaller head, because as I start putting in the brows and the open mouth and everything like that, it just gets bigger and bigger as I go. If I already start big, then it's going to be probably too big by the time I actually. Scott Gunther says that's fair. Does seem to be a huge part of the Hulk lore now. Well, no, but it's they've made the animated show about it. They've made appeared in actual Thor movie, so it had significant impact, and it's one that'll always be remembered. Although and they did have some spin-off characters from there, like Son of Hulk or whatever, didn't they? I mean, again, I'm sitting there. After I did Hulk, sorry, I keep being unsatisfied with what I'm doing with the head. Once I finished my work on Hulk, I mean, I did do Ms. Marvel, but after that, I was off to DC, so I didn't really pay attention to what they were doing with World War Hulk and all that kind of stuff. I was a little ticked actually that I thought Greg got ripped off. I thought he should have written that, and I knew they weren't going to let me draw it, but I think JR Jr. drew it or whatever. But which is fine. I mean, it's not like he's not a big name or something, but I just felt it was kind of a disservice to the creative team that actually did this and then kind of got brushed aside when it was a hit. Well, we better get some big name people on it because you peons can't handle it now, even though we're the ones that made it big. But that is life in the business. I mean, I guess it's kind of like someone on Broadway making a hit Broadway show, then they do the movie version and they don't use the people that were on Broadway. I'm sure they're just thrilled every time that happens. I hate that. All right, I'm gonna do a different one. At some point you can just kind of feel you're going down a dead end. Bonus. Yeah, not really. Just need to get more energy in that figure. Oh, I see what you're saying, Scott. My mistake. I'm curious though. I wonder, is Beta Ray Bill even a thing anymore at Marvel? I mean, he's got to be, right? But all right, it's got way more energy in it. This pose does. I just can't. I mean, I have on occasions let a drawing go that I wasn't 100% happy with at a show, but it's like, what do you do? But something like this, it's got to feel right. And sometimes I don't even know what that means. beyond the fact that, like I said, it didn't feel like it had enough kinetic energy in it for what I was going for. This I like much better. Okay. Oops. I bum rushed the camera. Okay. How long have we been going? 6 o'clock. I started at 3 hours. Wow, this is a convention. Aren't you guys thankful you're sitting at home instead of standing in front of my table for 3 hours? Yeesh. Yeah, I'll wrap this up pretty quick. Let's get this guy penciled in, and then I'll call it good for the night. Make sure I extend that brow out more. Randy wants to know what time I'm on tomorrow. I'm going to shoot for 3 o'clock, same time, because I know there's some guys on the East Coast, so I don't want to be too late, but I don't want to be too early either. So I think 3 o'clock, because that's 6 o'clock, so hopefully most people will be, well, done with dinner, and they'll probably be eating dinner, so maybe it isn't on the East Coast, but 3 o'clock. The idea was to get done on the West Coast before people start eating dinner, and then start when people are finished eating dinner on the East Coast, but you know. Again, if you guys want anything off the table or anything that we've shown, please just email me about it. Or like I said, if it's something simple like a print or a couple of prints or a sketchbook or whatever, you just PayPal me the money and get on the list. In fact, I have nobody on the list right now for sketchbooks. And I'd like to do one, at least one tomorrow. So if you get with me, if you get that PayPal into me today, I'll do your sketchbook tomorrow live. I think that we need to be a little bit more wild-eyed here with the Hulk. He's, Here we go. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, the head's everything, man. If you can get a good face, regardless if you're drawing a woman or a monster character or whatever, that really makes the drawing. So I think we're onto something here. So you can see by doing the underdrawing in blue, I don't have to do a ton of erasing. Because like I said, I don't have to erase the blue. On a commission, I will a little bit, although I think when you're getting a con commission or what we call a sketch commission, even though it's way more than a sketch, but it's still not necessarily a finished piece of artwork. So having some of that blue in there sort of, so having some of the process in there makes it kind of cool. And also on these sketches, it's like, I can do rough stuff like this, and then, clean up the line when I'm inking, and as opposed to cleaning up this line if it was in a regular comic book page, because I have somebody else inking it, and they've got to know what I want it to look like. So I have to be much cleaner than I do when I'm inking myself in one of these situations. And even if these fingers aren't exactly right, I will go up and I will make the adjustments when I'm inking them too. So there's quite a bit actually to be said for inking yourself. It really helps speed up the process. And when I say speed up the process, I don't mean like hacking it out, but I mean getting to the same place more efficiently. How's that? And the thing is, if you're going to do any self-publishing and you can't really afford to pay an inker or whatever, which might be my case, if I don't want it to take 100 years to do a single issue, I've got to be able to be loose or in my pencils, and then being able to clean it up in the inking stage so that you can actually get the book done in a reasonable amount of time. Because let's face it, people will support you to a certain degree, but if you never produce a product, then it's kind of hard to convince them to hang on with you if you're not really providing them anything. Got to remember how to do the Hulk sandals. Again, this is, it's fairly loose, but what the information I need is there. So when I go in an ink, oh, that's funny. Randy Funk says, the sound of your pencil on the paper has an almost Bob Ross soothing effect. Okay, so in other words, shut up and just draw. Is that what you're saying? I actually had someone on one of my earlier videos say, because I was just discussing the process as I was doing it. It was like, your voice is so soothing. It's like Bob Ross for comic art. I certainly don't have Bob Ross's hair, that's for sure. But again, this is a lot looser than I would do in a comic book, but it sort of works for, again, the process that we're doing here. As long as all the, the essentials are there, when I go in and ink it, I just, I know which lines to ink and which lines not to. See, I think this forearm needs to be longer. Would you just have the dog outside?
No, he's just been thrashing me on the couch.
Oh.
And my hair.
I thought maybe he went outside and was a little wind blown or something.
No, that's him. Oh, here he comes.
He's a killer.
Killer of the messy buns.
Okay, make that hand bigger. This is Hulk's hand after all. And then, of course, fitting him on the page, right? Make sure his legs are thick enough. This is the Hulk after all. So do people watch Bob Ross videos to actually learn something, or just to kind of like as soothing background noise? Okay, so essentially, there we go. Now I will go in and clean this up as I'm inking, which you guys won't get to see tonight, I'm afraid. But we will show you the aftermath of it tomorrow. And I think it should it'll turn out pretty cool. And if it doesn't, I already got your money. No, I honestly do. If you ever got a commission from me, I'm always check to make sure that you're happy before I send the piece off. And I will get you out of a commission, but if you ever cancel a commission on me or you don't like it or say whatever, I will give you your money back, but I will never do a commission for you again. So just simply because, not to be mean, but simply because if I can't trust, you to trust me, then, I don't want to be in a situation where I do another commission and you're still like, that's not exactly what I wanted either, and kind of like, forget it. It's not worth it. So you have to, when you're getting a commission, you have to sort of expect a little bit of an artist's interpretation. So you can't be too uptight about costume details, and you can't be too, obviously you hope that every artist that does a piece for you does it to the best of their ability with the intent of really making it good, not just crapping something out to make a buck on it. And I do try and do the best I can. But I understand that, sometimes it's not as cool as you thought it was going to be. I'm sure I've done a few of those. So I do like everybody to be happy with what they're getting. Okay, so that's what we got. That's a pencil job on the old Hulk. Boom. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it for tonight. Hopefully I'll get those two finished tomorrow before showtime. I know I will. And I can show you those finished pieces tomorrow. Let's see if I can get back in camera here. There we go. It's not too shabby. I was going to shave before the show tonight, but I figured if I was at a con, would I shave? No, I would not. So this is pretty much me. And you can see kind of segments of my very messy studio creeping out behind the banners. Ooh, there's some more toys up there on top of my bookshelf. Anyway, looks amazing so far. Can't wait to see it tomorrow, Paul. Thank you. Thanks. See you tomorrow, Scott. Yes, absolutely. Art Rich Studio just joined us at 6. So you got the last 5 minutes of it, Art. So sorry, I'm cutting out. But you can go back and look at the stuff you want to look at and get through all the garbage. One good thing about Aaron Con, no body order. Yes. I would come back to Arctic Comic Con in a minute. I really enjoyed, that was up in Alaska, I believe. And that was, I had a great time. But like I say, that's not my call. They have to invite me back. But yes, if they invited me back, I would go in a minute. So anyway, again, if you're just joining us and you're interested in maybe getting a book or something, go back to the beginning of this video and watch the presentation of, there we go. Watch the presentation of what I have on my table, and I'll do it again briefly tomorrow. When I'll be back at 3 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow to do this again. And we'll do I think we're going to do Black Widow from start to finish tomorrow. So that should be fun. Anyway, there you have it. That is Aaron Con 3, day 1 in completion. Thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. Some of you guys stuck it out for all 3 hours, which is amazing. Tomorrow, hopefully I'll be able to get that singular sketch done in 3 hours. We'll see. And hopefully I haven't run out of stories. Oh, I've still got stories. Anyway, again, thank you. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.